I get
Let's make sure. Let's go to face. Look right quick. And make sure the live ain't on. The stream already tripping. They be putting my shit on private and shit. For my friends only. I need to put that shit on public.
mm-hmm.
Boom. Bam. Change.
I say.
Then, hey, Ashay, give me 1 second. What's going on is the settings are wrong on Facebook, so
Uh-huh.
they'll have it where the people aren't being able to see it because it's set to private. So I had to get off and get back on again.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, okay, what's good? Welcome to Metaphysical Monday. This is High Priestess Sister Arcola Sojak, and we are doing another episode with special guests, repeat guests, really family here with the new Sojak community. Brother Babalawo, priest, Kefra Patah. I'll let you go ahead and say your name, and then I'm gonna go ahead into my opening.
Keprapata, my nephew Haru, Atan Rashekum, that's my Kemetic name. And Ifa is Follow Wolfayemi. And it's great to be here. It's
I
always a
say
pleasure, Sister Soulja.
for sure, for
For sure.
sure.
For sure.
Let me push my camera up a little bit. Um, so I'm lighting up a little Palo Santo, get some good vibrations and spiritual energy going in. I like to give thanks to my ancestors and to everybody out there that will be watching us tonight. We're gonna have a powerful bill, so I'm not gonna take too much time, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. We're going into consciousness tonight. What is consciousness? And we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Also tapping into the Ori, our destiny spirit, talking a little bit about Orisho Batala. But the reason I put so much emphasis on this, on the mind, on the mental part of our healing, is because I really, really feel that it's so many things that we can learn. Knowledge is so infinite. It's so much out there, and we've
Mhm.
attained so much knowledge, but we're still in a space when I would look at how it's being played out and how we're learning and using the knowledge that we learn. um it was still a lot of other things that people needed immediately, even in church, answers that we weren't finding for immediate problems, not things like, you know these great things like aliens coming and all of that. We have issues like every day, people just trying to pay their bills, and people with health conditions and broken hearts and mental childhood trauma and stuff. So the revolution is in the mind. That's where it starts at. Our evolution, the evolution of the mind is the revolution. So we it's a lot of misplaced anger in our community and stuff like that, and I really, really want us to not be in pain. I want us to feel better. I want us to have relief. And some people are, trapped in religions and they don't have any answers. They're just waiting on Jesus or waiting on whatever. And we need answers right now. That's something that the church can really add to the curriculum, making sure we getting our minds right, not just with Bible scriptures and stuff like that and take it to the Lord, but we need to really be working. And I don't want to just say it towards the church, but any practice that's continuing to undermine and spiritually bypass your real pain and real issues that we can resolve through the spiritual tools that we have. I mean, if you got all of this knowledge, what good does it do you if it's not serving us day to day? Is it even still relevant? So we're going to go ahead and tap in tonight on what is consciousness. What does that mean to be conscious? Because we can have all of this knowledge, but it's nothing without spiritual application but mumbo jumbo. You get me? So we want to be able to bring spiritual soundness and mental liberation to our practices, whatever that is, So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the soul prayer to awaken and activate the soul, and I'm gonna pass it over to Babalawo Kefra Patah. Thank you.
What to pray.
Ashe. So this is to meditate on the region of your belly where the soul dwells, in your solar plexus. Take a deep breath and slowly release. Take another deep breath. Put your shoulders down. Relax yourself. Release all of the pain, sorrow, anything that this week and last week have brought you and this week will bring you. We're going to release that early, okay? Breathing all of that good prana, that good positive vibrations, and then slowly release. One last time, hold it and slowly release. My soul is something inside me that keeps me alive. If it didn't, I couldn't count five. It's here, it's there, it's everywhere. From the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. It hears through my ears, it sees through my eyes. It will never grow old, it will never die. It's truly my soul that keeps me alive. And if it didn't, I couldn't count five. Ashe,
I
Ashe,
say.
Ashe. Amen. And that's just a reminder to what's really running the show. It's that in you, Ori. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it to the inner head. We have many heads, well, we'll get into that. But go ahead, brother Kefir Patah. I'm so happy to bring you back on. And you are one of the fan favorites. You're one of the family favorites. Everybody like when you're here on the show. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it to you and let you, bless us with your gifts, your wisdom, your
Beautiful.
knowledge. Mhm.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Multi pray, my sister. I appreciate you. I wanted to go
Moto
and
pay.
speak about a particular Odu. It's called Osa Torah, right? So we asked about what is consciousness. Well, this particular Odu talks about what is truth. And the recital, the first part is Osa Torah says, what is truth? I say, what is truth? Arumala says, truth to the Lord of heaven guiding the earth. Pardon me, another siren that gone by. We got a lot of fentanyl people around here. They falling out left and right. So, time to time, we gonna talk about that too. Anyway, Osai Torah says what is truth,
Mhm.
and I say what is truth. Arumala says truth is the unseen one, guiding the earth. The wisdom of Olodumare. Truth is the word that cannot fall. Ifa is truth. Truth is the word that cannot spoil. Mighty power,
Ashe,
surpassing all.
Ashe,
Everlasting blessing,
Ashe,
I say. I say.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
We give thanks and praise to
I
all
do
the
pay.
ancestors. We give thanks and praise to Baba Eshu for opening up the way, and Ogun for clearing the path, and Ochosi for giving us the focus to where we're trying to get to, because Ochosi never misses his mark. And we give thanks and praise to Obatala for bringing us to clarity, and Shango for bringing us a drive to do justice, and Oshun for bringing sweetness into our life, and Yamoja for giving us the nurturing in which we need in order to move forward. We give thanks
Ashe,
and praise to all the Orishas, Multiple Bogbo Orisha.
multipay,
We give thanks and
multipay.
praise to Olodumare. We give thanks and praise to Eleda, the creator. And we give thanks and praise to Olorun, the owner of heaven.
Mm. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
We give thanks and praise to the Orisha who will not leave us. According to Ogunda Meji, Orisha is Ori. All the other Orishas will leave us at some point in time, but Ori will always stay with us from birth to your last breath. Ori will be with you. Ori represents the destiny in which we chose in heaven. Ori is the self. Orienu is the inner self.
Mm-hmm.
And Honori is the higher self. In India, they call it Paramatman.
Mm.
In the Hawaiian tradition, they call it Amakua, which is a combination of both Ori and Egun, which represents the collective grandmother, grandfather self. The Amakua, which is the ancestral field in which we all must tap into from time to time, as we are also channeling all the time. There's not a
Right.
moment that you're not channeling because you
Mm.
are actually an avatar of divine consciousness. You just have to remember that because the sickness of the human condition is forgetfulness. So Ifa teaches that when we were first born, when we came out the womb, we experienced trauma. And then when we experienced that first trauma, it led to us forgetting our divine destiny. So consciousness, we look at consciousness, right? Science has been studying consciousness for quite a bit, for a long time. Philosophy has spoken about it, religion has tried to define it, and so forth. But consciousness is the all pervading awareness within living things. And from an African perspective and indigenous perspective, consciousness and spirit can be infused even into inanimate objects. Like, for instance, in Congo based traditions, you have the spirits which are in Kisi, but you can turn the Bible into an Nkisi by fusing it with the right intent and spirit, and it becomes a sacred object. That's an Nkisi. The charms, the mojo bags from which they make in hoodoo and so forth, those are all Nkisi as well. It contains spiritual energy, meaning that that physical object is embodied with spirit,
Mm-hmm.
you see.
Yeah. Ashe.
Ashe?
Yeah. Iba Odumare, Iba to you, Kefra Patah, Babalawo, yes. Um, that's okay. That's powerful. The Nkisi spirits. Yeah, you can do the dolls with them too. Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. So you said something which I think is key to understanding this whole thing. And you mentioned about the power of the mind, right? Which is both identified with Ori and Obatala. Now, we look at the seven Hermetic principles, right, in the book called the Kybalion, written by the three initiates. It talks about the seven Hermetic principles.
Mm-hmm.
Mentalism is the first. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Those are the
That's
seven
right.
threads, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So when you're dealing with the mind, it says the all is mind, the universe is mental. You can also say the all is mind and the universe is mental. So everything that's happening around us, it is suggesting that everything that we see that's formed and shaped is the manifestation of a thought, an idea. We go back into even what Plato was talking about. They seen that there was a realm of ideas. Ideas are like spirits, and you can also embody an idea and have that idea work through you, and you become the embodiment and the vehicle from which that idea can manifest. However, we also live on a grid system on this planet where there are frequencies and there's aspects of consciousness where sometimes you may come up with an idea and discover around the same time you came up with that idea, somebody else has also come up with that idea. It doesn't mean that anybody plagiarized anybody. It just simply means that you guys were on the same frequency and it was time for that idea to manifest, you see. So, as physical forms, we are supposed to be the vehicles of Olodumare. And I asked years ago, I asked Ifa, is our purpose, right, to be the vehicles of God and divine consciousness? And I remember getting Ogbe Ofun, and it came in the form of a yes. And we know that Ogbe, Eji Ogbe, is the first on earth, last in heaven, and Ofun, well, let's say Orangan Meji, right? Is the first in heaven and last on earth. So it's talking about a complete journey in which you establish the full realization of self, knowing that you're coming from the light or as the light from out of the black womb and into physical consciousness, where you'll experience the spectrum of life. Hence, Olodumare, representing the womb of the rainbow, or the owner of the womb of the rainbow, or the owner of the everlasting Odu, or the patterns of consciousness that is constantly expanding and moving forward. So, what we are is we represent these aspects of consciousness divest through a physical form. We all have our own unique journey to make, which is why judgment only goes so far. And if we limit ourselves, if we ourselves get caught up on judgment, then we will find that we will be limiting ourselves to live up to the very artificial standards that we have created for everybody else. We have to live up to the very limitations in which we impose upon ourselves,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody has to be you, right? Somebody may say, hey, man, it's a hard job, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to be you. You can't be everybody else. You got
Right.
to be you. You might have a divine mission on earth, and you're listening to somebody else that's talking about what's successful for them, and it don't work for you because that has nothing to do with the agreement that you made before you
Mm-hmm.
came into physical form,
Mm-hmm.
which is why things work for them, but those very same things don't work for you. Now, you also have certain things that have shaped your way of thinking. You have your glands, your endocrine system. A lot of people are literally under the control of their endocrine system, which is often activated by their subconscious, certain chemicals being released, certain triggers based on traumas that they may have experienced. You're
Mm-hmm.
trying to talk to your partner and you guys are having a disagreement, and next thing you know, you guys cannot seem to get the other person to see where you're coming from, no matter how hard you try, which means that that conversation has to end because at that point in time, there's a part of the brain called the amygdala that has fully taken over, and that person or either both people are now on survival mode. So there's no listening to each other. You may actually hear the other person say things that they did not actually say, and vice versa. You
Right.
see? So this is why we have to understand the shaping factors of our consciousness. Then there's the shape of buildings around us, the colors around us, the things that we're picking up, the things that we smell, and so forth. All these things are shaping how we feel, how we behave, how much energy you have, and so forth. Things that you've listened to in your sleep and don't even realize has entered your subconscious mind, which is why I tell people, hey, it might be good for you to turn that TV off at night, brother, because
Right.
that stuff you might be hearing movies about war or movies about somebody arguing with their wife, and that goes into your subconscious, and next thing you know you're doing it because your subconscious mind is controller, and a lot of people around you are under the control of their subconscious mind. They're on autopilot. So either you are aligned with your Ipanri, which is the self in heaven, also known as the Atman or the Paramatman, and the Parabrahman aspect of you, if you want to get into Eastern metaphysics. The part of you that is in heaven, the double that is in heaven, you in line with the divine intent happening on the higher planes as opposed to being led by your subconscious, which is a
Mm-hmm.
manifestation of things that you've gone through, how you've been indoctrinated, and your traumas.
Mm. Okay. Wow, that was powerful, brother. Powerful, powerful intro, you know.
Definitely.
You were saying we have to know the shape of our consciousness. Could you explain that a little bit?
In E5, we have these 16 patterns called Odu. They represent patterns of existence and consciousness, and they add up to 256, right? So they represent patterns of consciousness, being, awareness. They are scriptures, and they are also what makes up the body of knowledge of Ifa. But not just that, these patterns is what comes down when you're divining for a person, representing where that person is, who they are, and the things that are governing their lives. So, you have to understand where you're at. Some people can go within, sit still, and let things come to them when they get to a relaxed state of being. That's because they're able to still the mind and have that connection with their Ori. They're able to cool off the Ori. See, when overactive mind is a hot Ori. So when you are being shaped, you have to understand how you've been shaped, right? And what has led to you being who you are, and you may want to do a reassessment on your life to understand why you may behave the way you behave, why you act the way you act, why you say the things you say, and why you may be, well, triggered by things that other people say.
So if your head is cool and someone else's is hot, what would be a proper way to diffuse that situation, whether it be walk away or say certain things? What would you, or even if you're both having hot heads? So that means no one is listening to the other, and we know these things, but of course, spiritual application is where we get the wisdom to use these things and apply it. So in that, how do we get that to look like spiritual application when two people are just, you know, somebody got to be the bigger person, as they say? But how would you handle a situation in that way, or explain to the audience how they would?
One of the parts of human existence is forgetfulness, right? And this is where it comes to like meditation. A lot of people don't want to deal with meditation because they think it's Eastern, even though that applies to E5 as well. When you meditate and you see yourself going through these scenarios, just picture yourself as you're sitting still, being calm and collective as you're having a disagreement. And you might could just tell the person, okay, well, let's go ahead and pick this up a little later, you know. And if it gets crazy again, be like, okay, well, let's pick this up a little later. We're still not ready. Don't say you're not ready to have this conversation because that's putting them in the defensive. Like, okay, we're still not just ready to have this conversation right now, you know. So let us both come back. We're going to come back when we're calm and collected. Never put it on the other person, because what's going to happen is that their defense mechanism is going to go off. You
Right.
see what I mean? Since you're
Mm-hmm.
both involved. So you're like, okay, well, let us come back. We're going to take care of this later. You see what I mean? Now,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it may come out that you and that person, you just may be at the end of your journey together, you know, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just may simply mean that, hey, if you try to hold on to this any longer, well, things might just not go the way you may plan them to go. And it doesn't even mean that the other person is in a right or wrong, or you are in a right or wrong. It just may simply be the end of your journey. And
Right.
there's, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you might have to connect with someone else who will take you further on that journey, which you can go further on that journey with. Does that
Right.
mean break up with your partner if you're with someone? But the minute you guys have a disagreement, no, you see. But you can get to the understanding of when nothing is working. You try counseling, you try speaking with an elder, you tried meditation and so forth, but it's just not working. That means that, hey, okay, all right, that's the end of our journey. However, when you guys started getting loud and you get loud, the other person gets loud, that's when the defense mechanisms start coming in. So the minute you start hearing those tones of voice, that loudness, and it's hard, it's not easy, because a lot of times you're like, well, I've been told all my life to stand my ground. I'm not gonna let him punk me. I'm not gonna let her talk to me. Like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I
And
get it.
is that wrapped into the ego?
It is,
And the
and it's
ego
all.
deals with the head too, right?
It does, but it also deals a lot of times with the survival instinct of maintaining one's identity. You see.
The root chakra then down below too. Yeah, it's all of it. What's in our, yeah, I guess it would be all of it. You
Yes.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Could you I'm gonna push my camera off for a minute, but I want you to explain to people why the head and the ori is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be right back. I just need to do something real fast.
All right.
I just want you to take it for me, or whatever you want to go into. If you know where you
Mm-hmm.
want to go with it, just take it there.
Mm. Well, the head is definitely most important. In fact, it's considered so sacred, it's actually considered taboo for a lot of initiates to allow people to touch their head. It's not good to let anybody or just everybody touch your head. So you got to be careful. If you're going to be working with other people's heads, let's say if you're a barber and so forth, you may be taking on other people's energies as you're going and cleaning their heads, shaving their heads, and so forth. So you might actually have to do a cleansing. So one thing I suggest from time to time, you can go ahead and take a bath in spinach and literally take the spinach that you're tearing up and you're putting it in the water and just squeeze it till the juice is all up in there. And just take it in. When you get in the bathtub, just pour it all over yourself. Rub yourself down and clean your auric field off. You can also use salt, depending on who your Orisha is. Some people who are children of Obatala might be taught that they need to stay away from salt for various reasons, especially ingesting salt. Well, we'll talk more about that as time goes on. Now, one of the things is that we are here to learn and remember. You can say that the earth is our university. The Yoruba word for earth, or that is the world in which we live in, the marketplace, is Aye. Another name for the earth as an Orisha is Onile. So that's the earth mother, Onile. So this is our school. We're here to learn. However, when it comes to working with consciousness and the head, you have to make sure that you have a clear head and a cool head, literally. So let's say if you touch somebody's head and their head is hot, right, and their stomach is cold, that means that their life force is off. If their head is cool and their stomach is warm, then that means that that person is balanced. So it's literally things that are taking shape inside of your physical body that lets us know and let somebody know or let you know when you're in balance or when you're out of balance. So if you want to learn more about that, you get into the studies of like Chinese medicine and Qigong and so forth. But Ifa talks about how important it is to keeping Ori Tutu, or that is keeping the head cool. At times, when you have a hot head, it can also indicate that your mind, your thoughts are carrying you all over the place. So it's important to have a centered head. So when it comes to doing breath work and sitting still, meditating, doing your rituals and dance, then what you're doing is that you're centering yourself. When you're working with Orisha, or when you're working with our ancestors, or when you're working hoodoo and so forth, it's best a lot of times to design your own implements. Now, you may not consecrate them, right? Somebody else may if you're not an initiate. However, let's say in hoodoo, you make your own nation sacks, your own mojo bags, then that's much more power in that. The reason why is because your consciousness is involved in you making the bag, and therefore your intention is intensified when you're doing something physical. Because a lot of things in which we do in the physical plane, it starts out in the heavenly realms and is channeled through in the physical plane. And when you do the work here, that is involving the movement, the offerings, the dances, and the physical movement, right? Then that means that you're helping it manifest as opposed to allowing it to, drift around in the etheric plane. So people may pray a lot and notice that it takes forever. It seems like it's taking forever for their prayers to manifest. But it's a physical act that helps put the finishing touch on that prayer. So praying, hoping, wishing, and praying is only part of it. Okay. You want to go beyond just the hoping, wishing, and praying, but also get to the physical act.
Yeah, faith without works is dead.
Definitely. So
Mhm.
sometimes part of your elbow, let's say you're having issues with your with how your mind is operating and functioning. Sometimes the oracle will tell this person, hey, this person needs to go get some therapy or go to a clinic. And some people may have an issue with that, but you might want to find a clinic or a therapist that suits you. So there's nothing wrong with having therapy if you need therapy. Okay,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, I mean, even in Africa and among, indigenous people, that's also a heritage we need to talk about as well. Indigenous people here, right?
Hmm.
They have the village shaman or they have the village psychiatrist or psychologist. What is a psychologist? A psychologist is a knower of the psyche, knower of the soul, and a psychiatrist is a doctor of the soul.
Right.
So you have the village shaman, they may be the psychiatrist. Remember, not every priest is supposed to be your psychiatrist. If you let's say you get divination from a person, well, you're having a whole bunch of issues. This priest's job may be simply to refer you where to go, not sit
Right.
up on the phone and talk to you about all of your traumas and triggers and stuff like that. That's not that person's job necessarily, unless that priest happens to have that in their destiny, you see. So it's most important to placate the head, your Ori. You can get up in the morning, hold your head and say a prayer. You can freestyle the prayer. You see
Right.
what I mean? Some
Hmm.
people it's good to hold your head. You can even do the Lord's prayer if you want to, but
Hmm.
hold your head before you put your feet on the floor while in your bed and start praying, holding your Ori and setting your intentions for the day.
I say Ori by Miche, Ori by Miche, Ori by Miche, and I just bless it with water,
I
every
say,
day. Yeah, I
I
say.
say, I say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's deep. That's really deep. Like mental illness though, I mean imbalance, if you want to even call it that, because people just there's so many stigmas around that type of stuff. But we are going into the age of the mind. We are in the
Mm-hmm.
age of Aquarius. You
Mm-hmm.
speak to mentalism and things like that. Um, I think that this, a message to the teachers that may be watching, or pastors, whomever. It's so important that, like Brother Kefir say, that we don't become limited, because a lot of the so-called mental imbalances and stuff is simply because people aren't understood. Even psychiatrists, they may not be able to, all of them aren't able to necessarily agree or see, especially if it's spiritual stuff or things that maybe going to a white psychiatrist or even a black one that's too indoctrinated. They give you like certain type of advice that's still not getting it. It has to be that open mind and the open heart. That's all I wanted to say, to really try and understand someone and what they may be feeling. It may not be what you think is reality, but it's their reality. So I don't know. It's just
Mm-hmm.
but go ahead on, brother. I just wanted to say, that's important.
Right, right. Well, there's the enlightened aspect of yourself, meaning that you have tapped into your inner light and have allowed it to expand. There's transcendence, meaning transcendence, meaning you have ended the trance, right? Where we're going through the constant emotional states, these are all trance states. But transcendence when you do not allow these variations of your being to be a disturbance. You have ended the trance states. And a lot of people are in a certain trance, which is why they behave and see life the way they see it. So you have to break the pattern, because how do you get in a trance? A lot of times you get in a trance by something being repeated over and over again. If you're doing a ritual over and over again, right? If you're listening to something over and over again, this is all shaping your consciousness. A lot of times, if you hear a lie over and over again, you begin to believe that lie. If you keep yourself in that environment where the lie is constantly being told, and if you make yourself susceptible to the
Right,
lie
right, right.
and you begin to agree with the lie. Man, there's been times that I listened to a song that I just hated, but I kept playing it on the radio, and before I know it, I'm up here repeating the song.
Yeah, like Return of the Mac. That's how I was about that song. But
Right?
it's a
You
cool
know.
song, but I was like, oh. But no, I was gonna just say though, exactly what you just said. The reason I made the statement about the teachers with limited thinking, or the whether they therapists or whomever, is because they're going to keep pushing that poison that you said. The only answers they're going to give them is what they know from their book or their scripture or their whatever. But when the person is needing something that to how to apply it right now, it's not always clear. When so like how you said, to keep them on the loop, and that's what I
Hmm.
was speaking to when everybody is not going to be understanding or even tolerant. you
Hmm.
know I know a
Hmm.
lot of people, a lot of Christians come to me simply because the only answers they get from church is give it to Jesus when they're really having bad issues thinking. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to just kind of agree with what you were saying
Hmm.
about the loop. So we have to
Yeah.
be with open-minded again.
Right. And a lot of times people are not given a way to cultivate this spirituality outside of a doctrine that's constantly repeated to them over and over again. Like, for instance, a pastor may have 10 sermons in which they memorize, and they're repeating those sermons in variations over and over again. You see? So, you know, it takes for the individual going to church, they're going to have to break out of letting somebody else tell them what to think and go and pick up their Bible. And as they say, call upon the Holy Spirit and let the Holy Spirit reveal it to them. So they may have to open up that Bible and look at that Bible themselves and let Spirit talk to them about that, and read and do
Thanks.
research for yourself and make discoveries. See, one of the things that's going on with the conscious community, a lot of these, sisters and brothers who are studying, that's a good thing. But, repeating information that you have memorized, that's not what brings out the God qualities in you. Okay? It's creativity. All right. That's why I mentioned earlier arts and crafts. You see, they don't mind you spewing a whole bunch of stuff and memorizing a pamphlet, 1 to 10 and 1 to 17 and 18, 19. And oh, it says here, right in this book, this part right here, that thus the such a thing. And that the gods came down and infused us with divine melanin, and the atom being 6 point, carbon atom having 666. You know what I mean? I mean, that's cool,
Six
but
protons,
it's
six electrons, six neutrons.
exactly. Can you apply that to the science? Can you basically do something with that,
Right,
create with it? That's the
right,
key. You see what I mean? So that's half. Having the information, that's half of it.
right.
But you can you bring it out in your art? Because as you're taking your pen or your paintbrush or you're molding a clay or carving a wood, right? Or even coming up with some invention, that could maybe enhance technology. You're tapping into the God self. It's that creative
That's
part.
spiritual application, doing the craft.
Indeed. Doing the
Mm,
craft. You
that's
see?
deep. Yeah.
So, this, like, even with our Ifa, it's beautiful to memorize the Odu, because that's what we do. We memorize Odu, we learn Psalms, we learn chants, but you also want to apply. And here's the thing, when it comes to consciousness, look at the word magic and the word image. You see what I mean? And imagination, they all contain the same word. The magic is in the imagination and the mastery of the image. So here's the issue, somebody is trying to control your imagination. A lot of times you get in trouble when you dare use your imagination. You see?
Good point. Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I tell you. Is that play that world of what they call make believe, but that's really what a magic is because it's so
Yeah.
it's just free.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Indeed.
uninhibited. It's just you can just create. It's real because you made it real. It's
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You know, so you're supposed to live your life, your own unique life, right, in your own way, and somebody's telling you some doctrine. Well, that's not the way we learned it, and that's not how we're supposed to think. Says who? Who in the
Right.
hell are they to tell you how to think? You see?
Okay. That's
So,
it. Snap,
so you
snap,
know,
snap. That's
indeed,
facts.
you know, and you have a divine purpose to do something that ain't never been done before, as being unique, being a unique aspect of the energy of God or Olodumare. But we let people limit us, people who are afraid and fear based themselves tell you how to think and act. The next thing you know, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And sometimes it's even with priests who are holding knowledge from the person that they're divining. And not to talk shit about priests. Unfortunately, there are unscrupulous people in all forms, all traditions who basically don't help the other person without some type of attachment to their personal agenda. You see
Hmm.
what I mean? So the reason why we, get into the priesthood is to uphold a certain set of values, principles, rituals, ceremonies, and things of that nature. But this is to help one cultivate their spirit. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
Money
Hmm.
is a part of it. I mean, these are like things that you would receive, kind of like in the Helios Biblia, where it says, "Seek thee the kingdom of God, and all be held added unto you." Well,
Right.
the power of God is unlimited. You see what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can't make. There's no need to make offerings solo to Mare. You see what I mean? But we are
Hmm.
connected with Olodumare through the forces of nature, like the Orishas, that not only exist outside of us, but exist within us as well. You
Hmm.
see?
Hmm.
And there's also the inner aspect. You see, a lot of people, they want to crap all over the inner work. You need to do some inner work too. You see, this is called working on your character. Your character. You see what I
Character.
mean?
Yeah.
You know, so you
Just
got to
on.
be learn how
Mhm.
to be a careful actor. Uh-huh.
Careful actor. I like that. No, I was just gonna say, as you were talking, I was channeling and I could just hear this is the reason why. People blame, oh, this is the white man or this and this and this. But really it's people that in our own spiritual and religious orders that stop us from growing out of their own fear. So we can never evolve past whatever the doctrination is, whatever the doctrine is, or whatever. So we can never get out of it. And I think that's part of the confusion too, what keeps humanity, us, our people arguing and at odds, like you said, is here. And it's things that's going on like a frequency that continues to make us want to go in opposite ways, arguing to hold on to. Because what's wrong with you? Like, what the hell is wrong where you don't want to see liberation for all of our people, where you want to sit here and keep on doing the same things we've been doing over and over and over again? And clearly, a lot of them know the truth,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, that's not, they're not invested in the truth. They rather be right than righteous. So we have that
Mm-hmm.
to contend with, but that's deep. That's really deep.
Well,
You
that's the
know,
other. Mm-hmm.
so um since we talking about leadership and everything, we'll get back on to that, but I just wanted to hear your views on like the state of our nation right now, and how that's also affecting, it's going to be more of that, the mental health, and just what do you think of the state of America right now and just the climate of politics, and we had all of the stuff going on in Hollywood and just deportations. There's just a lot going on. So what do you think of that right now?
Under the Obama administration, right, they was focused a lot on the Human Genome Project until they took it off. After, I mean, before the Obama administration, it was focused on the Human Genome Project. After the Obama administration, they got away from that and started focusing on the shaping of consciousness. You see what I mean? They also had learned that if you traumatize people, you can get people to do what you want because they don't know which way to turn to and where to go. I'm saying that because you see what we're seeing now. They've been preparing us for this since the '90s. We have read all kind of books like "Behold a Pale Horse" and "The Unseen Hand" and everything else, but we act surprised. You see, so this is not a moment
They so
to
used to sitting on the bench, sitting on the bench when they
right.
say you're in. Everybody's like,
You know,
like busy on Sunset Park.
indeed, indeed, indeed. See, remember I said all this mind, the universe is mental. Okay, if you have an opponent that have an agenda, right, and they want to shape the nation and shape people to do what they want, they're going to allow you to see some of it. They're not going to allow you to see all of it. So they're going to put it out there on social media now and on TV what they want you to see so that you'll have all the knee jerk reactions that'll lead you into going where they want you to go. Part of it is arguing about who is right and wrong, you know, under his presidency. Now you see you have a country that's divided more than ever. But you see, if you're familiar with the protocols of the elders of Zion, they mentioned something that soon, they were going to create a world where the people will not trust their government. They won't know which way to turn to. You see, and they was basically talking about creating the atmosphere in which you think that your friend is your enemy and your brother and your sister are against you because you have a different outlook on life.
Right, the mindset, religion, worldviews, and all of that. That's gonna be a mess. That's what I was
Right?
talking to you about on the phone earlier, though, when I said
Right?
the kicking and the screaming and all of that. Because if people can see that there's a little piece in everything, but it's so they're so hell bent on being extreme, and that's why I
Yeah.
don't allow that on my platform. I don't allow that. So if people are like that, they gotta kind of keep it in. It's I'm not even speaking of metaphysical Monday. I mean even in my comments,
Mm-hmm.
I don't do the extreme stuff because that's dangerous, and they're a
Mm-hmm.
danger and a threat to my people and what I'm trying to build. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't have that kind of energy around me on no level. I've let some of the extreme groups in. They're there. They may be watching right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to put anybody on blast because I want us all to be able to put ourselves in order. You
Right?
know, because it's in all groups. All groups have an extreme portion in all groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to just single out groups, but there's some in particular that are known for harassing people on the streets and cursing
Mm-hmm.
people out and disrespecting women, and I can't allow that. Not on, but go ahead. Where you want to go with it now? It's a couple things I wrote, but I told you I wanted you to have the floor, so I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know, I didn't want to just leave it all on you if you needed some, things that you wanted to go into or you needed me to ask you some things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
Um,
I think the conversation has been flowing pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. What you just said, have anybody read any books by Octavia Butler?
Ah, yes, that's sister now. I believe she contributed to the Matrix as well. Some of her
Had
work.
to have.
They speak about Sophia Stewart, and I mean, no crap on her. But shoot, Octavia Butler, she was a sci-fi writer too. And she also wrote about some pretty real stuff.
Well,
You
what
know,
she
she,
wrote about is happening now.
yep,
Think about the
indeed.
book, The Parable of the Sower. The little girl creating her own religion. And she had started when she was young. And then
Mm-hmm.
it got to the point where nobody believed in religion anymore. The whole
Mm-hmm.
world, nobody believed in the government. Well, they believed in religion, but it was only groups of people. One
Mm-hmm.
little group. And her daddy was a pastor, right? In the book.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then it was so bad that water was considered like selling drugs. Water was like peddling.
Mm-hmm.
It was against the law to even try to peddle water. And it
Right.
was like the good people were inside of this gated community, and all of the bad people were on the outside. And they just like, you have to dress raggedy and stuff to even go out there. It was almost like a pandemic or something that, and they said nobody even believed in the government anymore. Like it wasn't even no need to even vote because people were so jaded. And it was
Right.
in year almost close to where we are now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like she wrote to the future because a lot of that started and is happening.
Mm-hmm. A lot of writers are actually diviners. They're actually oracles,
Absolutely.
right? And a lot of times when they write, they're channeling information from a higher level, higher source, and it's
Hmm.
coming out through their creativity.
That pen, that wine, and when you said it's as above, so below. And some things really, it's the thought. So it always starts there in the realm of the mind, and then
Mm-hmm.
we make it real. So what I like what you said is that act of being in the right now, as far as creating the art and stuff like that. That to
Mm-hmm.
me, that's spiritual activation. If a person don't know how to activate the spirit in other ways, definitely in creation, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
find God there, and the
Indeed.
activation of spirit to see how it works out.
Indeed, indeed. And all this is part of the all pervading mind. Now, I wanted to look at, and we can play with a few things too, right? With
Hmm.
words, because collective consciousness has a way of bringing things together so that you can interpret and decode it. And that's what our wolves do. We cultivate ourselves to learn how to decode what we see around us by placing something right in front of us, like the opuele, which is the divination chain, or the keen, in which we pick out in order to determine the patterns, right, that we would meditate on, or
Mm-hmm.
that dealing with the personal situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at the origin of things, right? And we
Let me
look
turn
at
my mic off.
origin, and you look at origin, you look at RE plus genetics. So you have your RE plus genetics. One of the things that people need to learn, especially when they're going to deal with ATRs, such as the way of Ifa and the Yoruba way, right? Whether they're dealing with Isheshe Lagba, Lukumi, or Santeria, because these are like three different things, but they originate from the Yoruba. But as they came to the diaspora, there was different lines of ancestors that may have combined with what was in their environment. You see what I mean? And it grew and went its own direction. However, you're looking at the Ori and genetics, the origin of a thing. So our RE in our genetics is the foundation of who we are, because we are accumulation of our ancestors, which we have a lot of their traits, we have a lot of their ways passed down to us, which is why it's good to go before your ancestors and elevate those ancestors, right? Feed them and say, hey, it's time for us to break an old pattern so that we can have a new pattern. You see, because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. You see? So what they talk about insanity, insanity is doing something over and over again and, and expecting different results.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, just hitting
we
your
have
head
to
on the rock.
facts, facts. So we have to talk about how we connect with the ancestors, making offerings to the ancestors, learning about your family history, learning about who your great great grandparents are and your great great your elders and so forth. Why do they think the way they think, and how can you break certain patterns? Certain foods may have been good back then, but they may not be good for you now, right? Certain foods may come up as a taboo. Certain foods that you could eat back then, they didn't have all the chemicals and all the stuff they put into it. So your grandma, she lived to be 90 years old eating certain things, and then you eat the same type of greens and cornbread with the pesticides and all the other stuff, additives in it, and it makes your tummy hurt every night and mess
Mm-hmm.
you up and cause you to be forgetful. So so we have
Mm-hmm.
to learn about,
Mm-hmm.
we might have to break some old patterns, because some things that we're used to doing, we may have to switch up the strategy because they may no longer serve us.
Right,
You see
right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, so you might want to speak with your great great grandmother, and ask, hey, okay, can you teach me the herbs? What type of herbs can I use to basically get my mind right, get my life force back in order? You see what I mean? Or how can I heal? What are your secrets? You can learn her recipes, but you might have to learn how to grow some of those foods yourself, as opposed to getting them from the store, getting them from certain places. So
Mm-hmm.
now throwing away grandma's remedies may not have been the answer either. You see,
Yeah.
so you have to basically determine on what's working and what's not working.
Can't
Some
throw the
people,
baby out with the bathwater. We have to
exactly, yep.
also consciousness. That's what I do. That's why sometimes if I feel like I need to eat a certain thing, I'm gonna eat it because it's like my consciousness leads me to what. Sometimes it's things I love, and my spirit will say, "Don't I don't want it," so I don't
Mm-hmm.
eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's for different reasons. It could be something like you said that has pesticides or that's tainted, or somebody could have did something to it. It's something
Mm-hmm.
you love. That's what I know from the work I do, is that it could be food you love. You may go to one of your friends' house and be like, oh yeah, we got some okra, or we got some
Mm-hmm.
spaghetti or
Right.
whatever, and then you
Right.
like, yeah, and you look at it and you be like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's because it could be something that's not clean, or a negative energy that prepared it, or just it's not for
Mm-hmm.
you. Don't so that's, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
real though.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about and this is a little different, but it's still in alignment with the that you brought up diet. I kind of like was putting the energy out there to you of the diet and the Ajagon, and the when we talk about the other side of Orisha, which is sometime when we're out of balance and things, and how we can create certain things, like when you said the food that may not have been good for grandma may not be good for us. That may be the thing that could, do you think that could actually throw the Ajagon off though?
Well, here's the way it works. A lot of times if you are given a taboo, like a certain food that you're told not to eat, if you take in that food anyway, it may actually make you more susceptible to the adragoon because now you have a decrease in ashe.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking taboos decrease our ashe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you may be told, hey, you're not supposed to eat a certain thing, and you may discover that if you eat it, it may cause you to have some type of breakout, like a rash,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so a lot of times these taboos are meant for you. It could be genetic, right? And it could be the situation in which you're in. So sometimes you might ask, is this taboo permanent or is it for now? A lot of times, if you go to an Ita, it may tell you at that particular time that yes, this is taboo for you. And you may go and receive another or an Orisha or receive something, and that taboo is lifted. It
Mm-hmm.
depends. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to our diet, um, I would like to go from a diet to what I consider to be nutritional alchemy. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want it. We don't want to die it anymore. You know, we don't want to die off of it or having dyed food in which they crush up insects for the red dye that goes in your candy, and you're actually eating a bunch of bugs and wondering why you got these problems too.
I don't
Because that's
believe in diets. I
you
believe
know.
in changing your diet or letting
Mm-hmm.
it be a part of your lifestyle, but not to say, "Oh, I need to get in my dress. I need to lose 10 pounds." I'm
Uh
not
huh.
really. That's not really
Yeah.
my thing. But
Uh huh.
it puts a lot on the body. Those
Mm-hmm.
extremes. That's extremes
Yeah.
too. You
Yeah, you
know.
just got to make sure that you understand that what's good for you and what is not good for you, because certain things could be for your blood type, your haplogroup. There was a sister who was having issues with sickle cell anemia, and she was told to, incorporate cassava root into her diet, and it helped her sickle cell clear up.
What
It
was the
helped her
root?
sickle
It
cell.
blinked out on it. Say it again. The root.
Cassava root.
Oh, cassava. Okay, thank you.
hmm You see what I mean? Some people may have like stomach. A lot of people are complaining about their stomachs and acid reflux. They may want to get into some type of golden seal or something like that to help with their stomachs, so they don't, so they're not throwing up in their mouths and rotting their teeth out at night. Because the dentist is just telling you that it's eating a bunch of sweets. They're not telling you that the reason why your teeth are having cavities and falling out is because you throw up in your mouth all the time for eating all the crap that they got out here.
You just really like in my energy. It's like the spirit, the frequency is so major. Because one thing I wanted to write down and I forgot. My sister, one of my sisters living here with me temporarily. She's here with me, and
Mm-hmm.
her friend does dental work.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just speaking to, she just said, I don't understand how people can just neglect their teeth when it's connected to your skull and your brain. Like it just,
Mm-hmm.
like you can literally die from infections of your mouth and your teeth. And I never really even, but it's so important. And a lot of our people in our community, we don't take good care of our teeth as well as, I'm not saying everybody, but there's a lot of people that take that for granted.
Yeah.
And I think it's they would say stuff when I went to school. I'm from the South. I ain't trying to offend anybody, but when a dentist would come and teach us in elementary about our teeth and tell us to brush three
Mm-hmm.
times a day and 100 times or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
the people in the South where I'm from, they would be like, "That's white folk shit," so they wouldn't even do it. So,
Well,
and I don't know if you know those kind of folks, but that's how I grew up. With everything that you would try to do, that would be so we would almost rebel against it. It was almost like a form
yeah,
of rebellion. I ain't finna
yeah,
brush my teeth for a circle, 100 circles, and and I
yeah.
and I think that way of thinking.
Well, let's look at it this way. You can use neem toothpaste, which is better than the fluoride, which is actually no matter how many times you brush your teeth, not only you're rotting your teeth out, but you're rotting your brain. Because some
Wow,
people, fluoride messes you up. It messes up your memory and everything else.
that's
But
deep.
get NEM, get neem toothpaste. And they put these mercury fillings, which cause the brain to shrink and everything else, and to fill up the cavities. So you might want to go to a holistic dentist. So I'm not saying don't go to the dentist or don't brush your teeth. You just got to replace the products that you've been using, because people brush their teeth 3 times a day and still losing their teeth. And you see what I mean?
But that's because they teaching us fluoride is good. So you telling us, which I know, but I'm just saying rhetorically for those that don't know, that may be
hmm
watching, fluoride is not good for us.
Right. You know, in fact, they got fluoride all in the water. That's why people don't remember. That's why people are suffering from CRS, can't remember shit. They got fluoride all up in their system. You see what I mean?
Oh,
You know.
look, one more southern thing. So when I was pregnant with my son, I went to the dentist in California, and they
Uh-huh.
asked me, "Was I from overseas?" And I say,
Yeah.
"No. Why do you ask?" They say, "Because you got so much fluoride in your teeth." But
Uh,
that's the water we have here in the South. We all have fluoride because that's the way the
mm-hmm.
water the water is. When we were
Mm-hmm.
still drinking hydrant water, we didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
it was just from
Yeah.
years of drinking that hydrant water and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. See, so we gotta like get some water. You might want to invest in water purifiers and stuff like that. It's not your fault, you know. But once you learn, then this gives you the opportunity to incorporate these things into your life.
And
You know, they had made a connection to like rust in the pipes and people drinking rusty water, which is linked to violence. So we wondering why our communities are full of violence and people who don't remember nothing, you know, and they finding this issue all up in Chicago, all up in a lot of highly black populated areas where there's like garbage down, you know, a garbage site not too far away from where they live. White folks was practicing what was called NIMBYism, which means not in my backyardism, because they
hmm
wouldn't dump the crap in their backyard, but it was putting all kind of stuff in the black communities and communities of color, where
hmm
people have nuclear reactors down the street, as well as junkyards and garbage all the way down the street in huge piles, and this is all affecting the people. It gets in the soil. I remember years ago I went to a place in California and they talked about a whole couple of complexes were torn down because the people were all getting diabetes that lived in those apartment complexes. And come
hmm
to find out that they had built those apartment complexes on top of an old shipyard, and it was like lithium, high deposits of lithium in the soil over there. But they were saying that the people were suffering from diabetes and getting cancer because they ate too much chicken.
Mm.
You see, you know, so we got to
Yeah, that's
investigate.
crazy. Wow.
hmm But they'll turn around and say, "Oh, well, African Americans have all these issues, the highest, and all these bad things, heart disease. Some of this is stress related, and is also what we're exposed to in our environment. So part of the Revolutionary Act is to clean up the environment and refuse to take in the products that's destroying our health."
hmm 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 Yeah, that's facts. Wow, that's facts. So we talked about how to keep the head cool. You can also working with like the Ori. Let me see. And I kind of touched on the suicide rates. I know we're not supposed to say that, but I say it. So trigger warning. But the I it's on the rise though. It really really is. It's
Mhm.
higher, it's at a high level, and I fear. That's why I do this work too. There's so many people that call me, and I've been reading so many posts where people are just giving up on life, just
Yeah.
giving up on life right now. And
hmm
this is why this part is so important. And we do all need someone to lean on. People make the world go round.
Yes,
So,
you do.
it's in these communities are very important. The things that we're all out here wanting to do, but we want to just make sure we're not continuing to spin the mind of the people
hmm
in these communities we're building. These different communities we're building. I give big up to everybody out there. Give big up to black people trying to do more with their minds, even if
hmm
they have found a new religion or philosophy and they feel good about it.
hmm
Big up to you, because it could be so many dumb things in our mind, but we don't never want to stop the learning.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, life is one big journey, you know, and it's not about judging how people learn, you know,
Right.
if you're learning. It's the
Yeah,
question is, what do you do with what you know,
that's
right? How do
right.
you apply it? And are you applying it if your application of it is going to help you advance and help things around you advance as well? You see what I mean?
Mhm.
There are
Mhm.
those who are servants of all and then those who are self-serving, right?
Right.
You know, so when you're dealing with, like, for instance, the first stage is Ron Min talks about Sebek, right? Now people have connected Sebek to no, he connects Sebek to Eshu in the form of a crocodile or a jackal, but in the form of the crocodile, people don't talk
Go
about that.
back. Yeah.
You know
Mhm.
that's he's the guardian of the thresholds, right?
Mhm.
Well, a lot of times people have mental blockages. That's the crocodile guarding their threshold, but it's to the point that that blockage may not be serving them. So we go to Eshu, or we may work with that particular Orisha, so that communication can be clear and free flowing, and that there's no confusion or there's no mental blockages when it comes to taking in information that could
Mm-hmm.
serve us, as well as making decisions that can help us to go forward. But you have to work with learning. You learn cleverness with Eshu. In the higher wisdom faculty connecting to Arumala and Tahuti, you learn the wisdom, right? The higher wisdom faculty is when you're able to look and see the signs and symbols around you and within you. The oracle is speaking to you and you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Some of our kids are so brilliant, man, and we take in a lot of information. Sometimes even myself, I'm a high being to be even where I'm at in age and all of that. Just but a lot of my
Right.
children are that way. You know, a lot of energy, a lot of light, a lot of gifts. So some of the things that people may think is mental illness, they're channeling into other levels of consciousness. And there's no one to help guide them through that. That's why we definitely have to be on point, you know,
Mhm.
because will block the blessing sometime thinking that it's they're all for different or they have, like you said, a unique thing to bring into the world, you know
Right.
but it's no one to really help them to it. No one nurtures it, like the school system say they have ADD or you this or you that, and
Hmm.
everybody's not meant to just sit all day in these desks and things
Right.
like that.
Hmm.
And also I think some of the medications they have our children on, obviously like the Ritalin from way back in the day, a lot of that kind of threw people the way that we intake information, the way we, like you said, I never took Ritalin, but I understand how it works on people that I
Hmm.
know that
Hmm.
have to take not just Ritalin, but things like that, that alters the
Yeah.
mind. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. The rich don't send their kids, or their children to school the way we do. They don't have their child sitting in front of a desk in front of somebody boring their mind all day.
Right.
The rich have mentors so that they
Mm-hmm.
can mentor their children in ways in which they're going to learn how to take care of the family business and run the estate when they're gone. And you know why they got your child sitting up there in the school system being indoctrinated. And I'm not saying don't go to school, but just be aware of this so that the parents can have more of a stake in their learning. Why they got your child being indoctrinated, sitting in a classroom where the mind is getting bored and they're getting hyperactive. The rich, they take their children. They can go to anywhere in the world on a plane while they're being mentored and tutored by their tutor on the plane. They don't have to
Mm-hmm.
go to school the way our children have to. So we have to be creative in how we're going to get our children to learn, because a lot of times between the fourth and seventh grade, that's when they start losing interest in learning. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? If
Mm-hmm.
they had a more natural way of learning, they wouldn't lose interest in learning. You see? So,
Right.
and what I mean by that, we're
I
always
know.
learning. But their enthusiasm of making discoveries, which leads their creativity, is what's being thwarted. You see what I mean?
I totally get it because I did not like school and I was
Hmm.
bored and I was constantly. That's why I can't be indoctrinated now because I never could be. It was like
Hmm.
I just couldn't. I'm in there writing and creating stuff and talking about other things, metaphysical stuff in the fourth grade, but I'm talking about the color wheel. I was
Right.
bored. It's
Right.
boring. And then
Yeah.
then sometimes we can't see, and people don't know that the kids may need glasses, so you lose interest for
Hmm.
those kind of reasons. You lose
Right.
interest because you got shit going on at home. You may be thinking about the argument your parents had, or
Hmm.
uh anything, just stuff
Yeah.
going on. Just
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It's a
See,
lot.
and they don't have no concept of anybody having a destiny. What was it? It was either
And we don't
John
see
D.
ourselves in
Rockefeller.
the curriculum.
No, we don't. And remember, I believe it was maybe it was John D. Rockefeller who said, "I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers."
Right.
So, so these are people who are being indoctrinated to just, be good workers, not being creative and stuff like that. And that's why I
Mhm.
keep on bringing this up, because so many people in the conscious community keep on talking about we're gods and goddesses and stuff like that. But the thing about it is that they have no creativity. They're just regurgitating some shit that they didn't read on
That's what I'm
Facebook and heard
tired
on
of.
YouTube.
I'm
You
tired
see?
of it.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, you got the information part down, you got the information that part down. Now get the other part of it. Come up with creative ways to help your community, family, or come up with some creative ways to be an inventor. There's more than one way to have children. Sometimes if if your genes are not allowing you to have children, right? There's something going on with you. You can't have children. Then maybe you're supposed to have a different kind of a child, which is supposed to be of a project. Maybe this is the last of your incarnation through that genetic line. So therefore, you're here to also bring about a different type of child, which it
Mm-hmm.
could be an institution or it could be an invention or some forth. But
Right.
you're meant to be creative, and the reason why, if you look into a lot of histories, a lot of revolutions came after they basically had a shift in art when people started getting more into art and everything else, or some
You
type
talking
of
about like
renaissance.
in the 60s?
Correct. Uh-huh. You know.
That's
Um.
the time we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
Astrology wise, they just
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to believe. Only the youth, they really maximizing it because they told people don't be afraid. They didn't tell
Mm-hmm.
people this is what the astrology will say for us to take those chances, the weird ideas. We're going into Aquarius, innovation,
Right.
stuff that's weird and out of the box. That's what people actually want right now. New types of music, stuff they
Right.
never heard before, new
Right.
fashion, stuff
Right.
that's just, new ways of singing to the Lord a new song. We in a,
Right.
it's the new
Exactly.
time. So this is I'm excited about these times. The only thing that
Indeed.
makes it uncomfortable is the destabilizing of the old reality. So for
Mm-hmm.
some people that's uncomfortable, but you have to destroy in order to rebuild. So we got to
Facts.
be uncomfortable a little bit, unless you're understanding that you could just wade in the water and you don't have to do anything but wade in the water because God's already working.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Look at
excited. Now we can embrace Obatala energy of
indeed.
just being
Indeed.
cool.
Indeed.
Quit
Indeed.
fighting so much.
Right? And what they
Like
say,
you
God's
said,
going to cover the
please say
rock.
that piece you said the other day. How no, that was on the other live when you said that they all mad about Trump and they was doing spells on him and stuff, and he's still the president. He's still
He's
the
still the
president.
president. You see what I mean? That's another thing people can say. I mean, excuse me, is like, putting on the vagina caps and all these chicks marching around the country, and half of them voted for Trump secretly themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, stop it. Stop it. You know, um, the thing about it is that these folks got their own form of magic. And you find you
Right.
got these 16 Odu that divides into 256 combinations. We call these tetragrams, right, as the English word for the Odu patterns because they're columns of four, columns of four spaces. Like they may have one dot here, two dots there, one, two, 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 or so forth, right? That's a combination. We'll talk more about that later, but they have their own version of their own way of doing that called geomancy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. What you was talking about with Aleister Crowley and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You open up Aleister Crowley book; they got their own 16 patterns of divination.
Hmm.
They're making their own sacrifices, doing their own rituals. Trump done already went through all the rituals. You ain't gonna go and buy no book from no Barnes and Noble and burn a candle on Trump and do nothing to him. What you
Hmm.
got to do is you got to work with your magic, right? Your inward magic, and you got to work with your ancestors and work with your aura, and you got to change the way you think so that you do not manifest everything in which you've been taught to fear. That's
And to me, it's just so natural. Like some of the stuff that God has been telling me since 2020. I mean, God, the universe is alive and conscious and well, and it
Mhm.
definitely responds to you.
It
It may not
does.
always be what you want to hear,
It does.
but it responds. Your body responds when you just talk to it and command it. It responds.
Right?
But people
Right?
don't have enough patience for the spirit.
They
You
don't.
know,
And a lot of times you see, you underestimate these white politicians and folks you see in business suits. But the guy who wrote the book called Health Cures That They Will Not Tell You? His name was Kevin
mm,
Trudeau.
some
I
years
heard him
back,
I heard him do a lecture years ago. He said that his family, he knew people who had deep knowledge that came from thousands of years ago. He talked about white families who have like things written in Hebrew and Sanskrit and Arabic and secret teachings that their families had a hold to how they can make things manifest.
well, I
You
mean,
see what I
according
mean?
to the story of Yakub, whites is black anyway, huh? And blacks is
Basically,
white. I mean, they just grafted this our lower nature, so they
right?
must know something. They
Yeah.
daddy the big headed scientist according
Right.
to the doctrine.
Right. Exactly.
So,
And I mean, hey, and and sometimes we still the big head scientists.
mm.
That's the issue. So, a lot of times we got to work on, you know, paying attention because I mean, in Ifa, it says that a person who is knowledgeable is considered to be big headed, right?
Right, the yeah, the big head.
You know. But
Well,
there's
we
different
say that
ways.
even when they say egghead, in
Mhm.
sometimes people will call you egghead or big head.
Indeed,
What's
indeed.
the big headed one? Yeah, that's funny.
Mhm. But you
Yeah,
see,
long head. Remember long head Drohorn?
yeah, I
And if you
do.
saying you got any more of the long head books, are you reading any
Right,
more of the long
right.
head?
Well, Elijah Muhammad, right?
Uh-huh.
He had his own. He had a pretty.
No, it's Leghorn
So,
Foghorn. Don't make me sound crazy. That's the
you
name of the
talk about you
cartoon.
talking about that rooster that couldn't shut up.
Yes.
I say this, I say that. you know,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
So
right.
what the minister, the great minister said?
He mentioned, well, he had the story Yakub, but you see, if you look at it in another way, he also knew how to speak to aspects of your consciousness. That which made him a great teacher. You know what
Right.
I mean?
He's
Like for
charismatic.
instance, if you notice, he didn't call it a mother ship. He called it a mother plane. You see what I
The mother
mean?
plane. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't call it a mothership. Everybody else started calling it mothership. He talked about the mother plane. Now
Plane of
he also talked
existence.
about a plane of existence, indeed. You see?
Yeah,
So
he's a smart man. I mean,
exactly. One of the best ways that you can teach people is when they don't know they're being taught. You see?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
a lot of times people respond to myth and metaphor not because it's false or not because it's fake, but it's a different way of reaching one's consciousness in
mm-hmm.
their way of understanding. It's the subtle teachings that have shaped the way you think and see things. So as those brothers and sisters was cleaning themselves up, you see, um, the mother plane, they're talking about the mother plane coming in 1975, right? Because it was supposed to come in 1914, but they got an extension to 1975 and then 2012. Basically, 1975 just represented a shift in consciousness. It didn't mean that you were supposed to stand on your rooftop waiting for the mothership to come down and beam you up, because that's not what it meant. But on a deeper level, there was a shift in consciousness around that time.
Well, Erica
You
say
see?
the mothership can't save you, so your ass is
Right?
gonna get left.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
You rush
Mm-hmm.
into destruction because you don't have nothing left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they
this
gonna be
ship
running
can't save you.
save you,
Oh, yeah.
so your
Ashes
ass is
gonna get
gonna get
left.
left. Yeah,
Right? And then she
yeah.
goes on to say, He made us in His
His
image.
image, so call us
God
by
inspire,
name.
right? And that's the thing. If
Most
you are the
intellects
living
do not
image,
be. They
right?
don't believe in God, but they fear us
That's just the
just the
same,
same.
right? Right? So, we're looking at grafting the devil. What do they mean by that? Okay, what is the devil actually? Okay, now, of course, the Nation of Islam was talking about the blonde hair and blue eye. They were saying that was Yaqub's graft the devil. But on another note, it also suggested that you had it in you and that you had to
Mm-hmm.
graft it out of you and take a
Mm-hmm.
look at what it is. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Give you
how do
that
we?
duality, that reflection, huh?
Right, you got to graft it out of you. You see what I mean?
Ooh,
Now,
that's deep.
you see what I mean? So it's talking about like a way of thinking that you have to graft out of you, and you have to analyze it and then
Mm-hmm.
destroy the devil's civilization within a day.
Mm.
You see what I mean?
So I wonder
You
if we
know?
gotta. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait till we get off live to say that because I don't want to be offensive. Because you just said something interesting. If these people represent us and is grafted out of us, do we all have a dual avatar? I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
I mean that's all that was metaphor. The dominant brown germ and the weaker the dominant black germ and the weaker brown germ being
Mm-hmm.
grafted out of us. You see what I mean? It's also talking about polarities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how to basically master those. It says
Right.
that Yakub was playing with two pieces of metal and decided he would create a people that will rule us, right? So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these are things that you got to take a deeper look at because you remember Elijah Muhammad's teacher was a Sufi master by the name of Master Farad Muhammad. He was a
Mm-hmm.
Sufi master. So, Sufis, they taught in a way in which things look literal at first, but at a deeper level, it is speaking to your spirit. It's speaking to you with symbolism to activate something in your spirit so that you can change and transform and shift. You see what I
Okay.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff about taking on the 99 attributes and qualities of Allah, all that's part of Sufism. When they talk about chanting Allah's 99 names so many times so that you can develop these qualities within yourself because we're the same as God in quality but different in quantity.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
see
you're
what I
just
mean?
speaking it. You speaking it into existence, like programming yourself align changing your. That's the same thing with the Jesus thing though. And that's
Uh-huh.
why I put that question out there today, but about why did people leave? And I want to give thanks for everybody that answered that. Why did they leave religion and or slash Christianity? And
Mhm.
just back to that. It just feels like I don't know. I'm not saying that everything like you said is a spell though in a way. So
Mhm.
if you're continuing, and that's why I was saying the knowledge born them that to me, an hour to Allah is an hour to you, even though you may
Mhm.
not think that when you're doing the worship, because that's still a focal point. All of those
Mhm.
things are focuses. You know what I mean? Like I got
Mhm.
this for Obatala. I come from Cuba, but it
Mhm.
is supposed to be to work with Obatala, but I use it to focus when I
I
meditate.
say.
It's a
I
focal
say.
point. So yeah, that's deep. So do you have anything else you want to say or?
Mhm. Yes. And and you're working I mean, you're working with Obatala with the whole thing of focus, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing about that, because Obatala being connected to Ori, we're looking at Osir. In Shechem or Shechem's works, he connects Osiris, to Obatala. But
Mm-hmm.
Osir was also in his cosmic form Orion or Orion, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Orion, has a belt with three stars representing the belt of Orion, which lines up to the pyramids in both Kemet as well as the pyramids in Mexico, right? A pyramid
Mm-hmm.
structure in China. All these line up with Orion's belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Orion, you read the pyramid text, it talks about how the king, or at the time it was Unas or Venus, if you may, it talks about him being transported to the place of Orion where he will be one with Osir or join his ancestors in Orion or
Mm-hmm.
Sahu. Another name, the Kemetic word for that is Sahu. But notice how the word Orion contains the word Ori.
Ori,
You
yeah.
see what I mean? So Ori, Orion. Hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Ori,
Mm-hmm.
you want to turn your Ori on. You want to
Orion. Yeah, I
embody
like that.
Orion. You see what I
Orion.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
that's dope. I like that. That's
you
that's
know,
that's that vibration though. Just
uh-huh.
like even though Osiris is the Greek, it still have, that frequency of the Orisha and the vibration. The
Right.
the
Oh,
way that the letters that are used and whatnot.
right,
Yeah.
right. And
That's
it,
yeah.
and you look
Awesome.
at the hieroglyphs that make the metaneta that make up Osir, right? You actually have an eye called Ari, right, over the throne,
Mm-hmm.
right? That spells his name, Osir, Osari. Hence,
Mm-hmm.
it's the Osiris. It is the Osiris, the iris, right, over the throne, the
Yeah, the
iris above the
iris.
throne. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it
The
means that
eye.
you have developed the eye in order to
Mm-hmm.
create, because Ari also means that which makes, and the hieroglyph is just the eye itself. So
Mm-hmm.
some say that Osiris or Osir breaks down to mean seat maker. Well, guess what? Obatala shapes your consciousness by shaping your physical body in the womb. When you're a
Mm-hmm.
child, it's Obatala who forms you in the womb. You see what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So, so
Yeah,
this
that's
is where
deep.
consciousness comes into play.
Yeah,
Um,
consciousness.
so you have Orion. You want to turn your Ori on, right?
Orion. Mm-hmm.
Ori, as well as the city of the sun. You have Ori Anu,
Mm-hmm.
Ori, right? The consciousness of the city of the sun,
Mm-hmm.
Heliopolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Mm-hmm.
is the city of what? Ra. Ra's the sun. Ra's your
Ra.
inner light.
Yeah.
Ra's your life force. So you want to activate the life force energy. So whenever you're doing something over and over again, it is impressed upon your life force, and that's how it becomes a part of you. Rituals, when you go into a certain state, like a trance state, and your consciousness has been altered, when you repeat something over and over again, it becomes part of your life force, which means that it's part of you, which is how it manifests, which
And
is how you
yeah,
bring
that's
the
what I was
better life.
trying to say. And I know I stopped because my mind be going. When I was saying even with Jesus, it's the
Mhm.
same thing. It goes, people say it so much it becomes a thing.
Right.
But what we were saying in the post that I wrote is that it's not a lasting energy. It's something like, but it's lasting in a collective.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe that's why we gotta pray so much. I actually agree with the Islam part of making sure to give that reverence like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
about that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because that's we do have to, even with spiritual cleansing, that's things we
Mm-hmm.
gotta do constantly with the world we live in. and
Yeah.
the way this war is on us, you know.
Well, you look into in some even the Golden Dawn's material, Western occultism, there's actually a part where it says, inflame thyself with prayer. Well, how do you
Mm-hmm.
inflame yourself in prayer? It means that you have raised your consciousness so much that the prayer is automatically going on within the back of your mind in a loop. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
You're
you're
walking.
replaced.
We are a walking love spell,
Yes, we are. Yes,
a
we are.
walking whatever we need to
You know?
be. Right.
Indeed. But if they constantly shut, and I mean, they got the TV on, they got social media, so you can watch these things. It can brainwash you about yourself, brainwash you about your partner, brainwash you about your family,
Mm-hmm.
brainwash you about the past, brainwash you about the future, and should I say, brain stain you. So one of the ways in which you do a lot of brain scrubbing is that sometimes you just got to turn that shit off for about a couple of days
You
and get
do.
back into your center, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people's thoughts are not even their own, which is why
Mm-hmm.
people are bickering and arguing and fighting, because a lot of those thoughts are not even their own. You
Right.
discover that a lot of people's opinions are not even their own. Hence, they are under the spell of what the Romans called vox populi, which means popular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Oh yeah. Totally.
So,
Totally. Totally. Wow. That's deep.
hmm
That's heavy. That's heavy. But it's facts. We have to sometime put that tinfoil hat on,
sometimes we gotta put it on twisted, flip it inside out. You know what I mean?
huh?
Or just replace it with another type of pointy hat called the hat of Osar. You know, when they have people sit in the corner, with the dunce hat on and everything
Yes, the
else.
cone.
The cone. That's supposed to be because, see, what's interesting? The cone-shaped hat is supposed to connect with the RE, funneling information from the heavens down into the brain. You see
Right.
what I mean? So you look in the Yoruba tradition, you see that they have cone-shaped hats or crowns, and they may also have like the
With the
material hanging over their
beads.
face
Yeah.
with the
The
veil.
the veil.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
but the cone that
right?
they call it dunce, but in all the traditions, you're right. It was like supposed to be higher knowledge, right?
Right.
Even the
Yeah.
witch has the cone hat.
Indeed. Indeed. So that dunce hat was actually supposed to make that child smarter. Okay. But
Oh,
you see,
oh, okay.
you
So go
understand?
put this hat on, you stupid. Go wear the dunce
Indeed.
hat. Okay, okay,
Indeed.
I get it.
Okay. You see, so
That's
that's it.
deep.
And then they got the reason why they got the veils. The Yoruba kings and high officials may have the veils over their face, but especially the king, because the king is not supposed to talk, right?
Yeah.
So, but the
Okay.
king may speak anyway. So the veil is prevent you from seeing the king's mouth moving.
Okay. I see.
See what I
Okay.
mean? That's what all
Mm-hmm.
that's about. But other than that, you know, we look into the fact that even Asar had a pointed crown. The crown of Upper Kemet was a white crown, right? And then an Upper and Lower Kemet, it was a white crown and a red crown. Um, Upper Kemet being the white crown, which is going more into the interior of Africa, and the red crown is going further into Africa, that fuses into what they now call Asia. That was
Mm-hmm.
the lower. That was Lower Kemet. So basically, when Haru, right, when Haru was able to overcome the auspices of Set, who had murdered his father,
Mm-hmm.
right, he can wear the crown of Upper and Lower Kemet because both of those regions have been united. Well, here's the thing:
Mm.
the symbol of that is called Semi-Tawi. And if you look closely at it,
What's that way?
it's Set and Haru standing with a rope around, a symbol of the lungs and trachea being planted into the ground. Why?
Mm.
Because metaphorically speaking, they understood that it took the breath to bring balance to the higher and lower self and to bring balance to the two brain hemispheres. Hence, you have formed a cross.
Mm.
You see,
Wow.
each and every one of us carry our own cross.
Yeah, we
So,
got to cross the I'll cross the bear.
see, indeed. So you look at Shango, right? Similar story. Shango started out as red. Shango, it said, would burn the house down with the very words in which he spoke. So
mm.
there's a few stories of how Shango had got a little bit up, feeling himself a little bit too much, right, and caused one of his generals to die, or for whatever reason he angered the people, and so he had to go and leave the kingdom behind, and it said this led to him committing suicide by hanging from a tree, right?
Mm.
And then check this out. It says that Shango supposed to have died, but then a hole opened up in the ground. Shango fell through, and ended up going to heaven, fusing with the energies of Obatala, and his colors became red and white.
Mm.
Same thing with Haru. Red and
Mm-hmm.
white, the red and white crown of upper and lower Kemet. So that's the alchemy. It's basically it's the fusion of the higher with the lower, so that there be
Mm-hmm.
harmony and balance.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I
Yeah, that's
mean?
interesting. And then when you think of all of the things we deal with in life, that could be just another path. He had to see what that was like, to have the or return. I guess that's going somewhere else, but we talked about that before when the or returns on you. That was the last time you were here. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's what was going on, but I know some people find that story controversial, with
Mm-hmm.
they get upset about it and some say it's not true, but I know that one. I appreciate you like explaining,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
explaining that aspect.
I mean, you never. I mean, you weren't supposed to necessarily take these stories literally.
Right.
You see what I mean?
They put
But I
Takis,
mean,
yeah.
these patakis are baking off wisdom. Sometimes it's explaining how to use herbs and different songs of how to tear the herbs up, what type of plant to pick, and everything else. But it'll come across as a story. But if you take it as history, then that means, hey, if you wanna see believe that Obatala really swung from a tree out of the sky and dropped the chicken into some dirt and basically kicked the dirt around and made a continent, be good. I mean, hey, go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? But
I looked
also,
at that as evolution though,
right,
like when
right,
we on the water planet, so when the
indeed.
so it's just a form of everything forming, just the
Right.
way we now I know we've been on a while. Did you want to stick around and answer one of my I have three black box questions, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
using this as the black box tonight.
Okay.
Um and the reason these questions came up because the ones asking the question, it has the word, each this word is on all three questions. It's the word devil.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's such a major thing for people that's just coming into metaphysics or ATR and different things like that. But before I go there, did you want to close on anything with that or say anything else?
The door is open. I mean, shoot, however the conversation was gonna go. We was talking about origin. We talked about Orion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was talking about. I want to talk about solarization. How Yoruba are seen as Omo Orun, which means the children of heaven as well as the children of the sun, and
Mm,
Omo Oduduwa. Well,
mm,
Oduduwa is the owner of the black woman's womb. So if we're talking
mm,
about we're talking about the children of Oduduwa. We're also talking about the children of Orun, was also the
mm.
children of heaven. Then we look
Heaven,
at
yeah.
Amazulu. Amazulu means children of heaven as well, meaning that our origin is from an upper level.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to identify with yourself being the children of that which is of a higher source. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
if you identify with the lower, and that means you're letting your subconscious and all your traumas control you, then that means then you will never fulfill your destiny, right?
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
you never actually take care of business in a healthy way.
Mm. You're always heavy too. Heavy.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
that's more earthbound than to be light. That's even with our troubles, keeping our head cool and
Hmm.
just taking things light. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to combine this. We've touched on this before, but people are always gonna ask this because that's what they are so afraid of. The devil have people so afraid. The
Uh-huh.
devil and going to hell and all this other stuff.
Hmm.
So these are just questions for people that don't know that may be tapped in. I want to thank everybody. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Babalawo, Ifawale, Atanda. I can't even go for that last name. That's a hard one. But and also the Marquise Lassane, give thanks for your energy and anyone else that tapped in and watched. So this is the black box. And the black box is basically something I've been having for years. Well, I haven't had the box for years, but I have an email where people email me, people that I've worked with over the years. Some are novice, some are my students, some are clients, and they just ask me questions, and I like to write them down and bring them for Metaphysical Monday. I just started this, so I'm trying to be more consistent with it. And so I found three questions here, and I just wanted, and I thought you would be a good idea to let you help me with some of these, only because this is our realm here.
Hmm.
So the first one says, do witches get their powers from the devil? And this is by Macy. She said I could read her name. So, do witches get power and gifts from the devil? I'm gonna read all of them first, okay?
Hmm.
This one just calling himself Bob Rob. I know that's not his name.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you believe in the devil worship? And is it really such a thing?
Hmm.
And the third question: is there a difference between Satanism, devil worship, and Luciferian, or is it all
Oh,
the same?
okay. I like these questions actually. So the witches get their powers from the devil. Not according to, see, here's the thing. The Yoruba perspective, they don't get caught up in the belief of a devil, but they
Right.
do talk about Ajagun, which represent negative forces in which you have to overcome. A lot of
Right.
times when you don't do things right, they say that Eshu is the lord of the Ajagun, and Eshu allows the Ajagun to come in. But in Orisha tradition, when you feed Eshu or when you work with Eshu, Eshu goes on your behalf to basically cause the forces of loss, sickness, death, right? Arguments, tragedy, paralysis, and stuff like that, which are considered spiritual forces or considered obstacles and energies and things in which comes against us. Eshu will basically bring his portion to them and appease those forces so that they don't become a problem in your life. You see what I mean? But from the Yoruba aspect, there's really they don't look at God having a rival like a devil or nothing like that. Now, when you get into like Lukumi tradition, right, Santeria, they do speak, put a lot of emphasis on a being that's similar called Olosi, which means owner of the left hand or owner of the left path. But again, it's not so much that that's even a devil that can rival God, you see what I mean? But puts the resistance in your life to make sure that you are continuing to make sacrifices because if you do not make the and when I mean sacrifices, you might have to give in order to receive,
The
right?
Igbo, yeah.
There's certain things that you might have to give up in order for you to receive. There's certain habits that you might have to give up in order to receive. It doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
that you always got to sacrifice a freaking chicken every week. It just may
Right.
seem that you might have to sacrifice the chicken within yourself. You see what I
Okay.
mean? So so
Okay.
you know now now as far as the devil, you know, the devil basically giving witches their power. That's something else. First of all, from the Yoruba perspective, there's the Society of Wise Women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they call them Aj, which is women with the ability to shapeshift into birds. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
Aj are birds. And you got
Mm-hmm.
Iami, Osaranga,
Yummy.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Iami
Mm-hmm.
Osaranga is the society of wise women with the ability to transport in the form of astral projection, right? And they all meet up in the sacred Oroko tree and have their meetings at night. Now, it said that the Iami Osaranga, they represent a time when humanity had failed the Iamio Saranga, and therefore they're angry at humanity. So therefore, humans have to do things right to appease the Iami. One of them is basically being married to your destiny, where the Iami will leave you alone if you make the agreement with Arumala that you will marry your destiny and you will move forward. And therefore, you get what is called an Ide bracelet, saying, "Okay, I have made a pact with Arumala. I am now married to my destiny. Therefore, do not take me off of earth before my time." Right? Because it is believed that your life can be shortened. Because each and every one of us was given a certain appointed time to be on earth. But it's
Mm-hmm.
believed that your life can be shortened if you're misaligned with your destiny and you do not listen to what was said. If you're not allowing your Ori to guide you where you're supposed to be guided, you see what I mean? You have Ori Baruku because you're misaligned. It's not that you actually have a bad head, right? Because our
Mm-hmm.
true nature is actually divine. Because Olodumare placed in me into the bone, into the clay figures made by Abatalan, brought them to life. Hence, your true nature is divine anyway. However,
Right.
we get off track. So the Yoruba tradition, we don't talk about so much a devil lusting after your soul, threatening to take you to hell forever, because first of all of this is God. All of this is Olodumare. So, it differs from the Christian aspect, believing that you have to accept a savior who will basically, you know, um, ride for you because he's
Do you
already made a
witchcraft for you,
sacrifice
huh?
for you. You see what I mean? You see, but if you notice though, it talks about Eshu working on your behalf and Jesus working on your behalf. The
Mm-hmm.
way a lot of us look at it, especially in the spiritualist community, you take the J off of Jesus and the S off of Jesus,
It's
and you
that
got
you.
Eshu, who is the
Period.
man at the crossroads anyway. So, that's the way we look at it. We
Okay,
don't
give
look at it
thanks.
so you look at the word devil though. Now look at the word devil. It connects with means diabolos. It comes from the word diabolos, which means diabolical, which means slanderous.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you do something right, a lot of times when you do something against your nature, you slander yourself. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So you
Yeah.
go beyond
Mhm.
when you go beyond the metaphor, you look at how the devil is depicted. We see this creature which represents Pan with a pitchfork, and he's got horns and everything else, representing a being that's subjected and stuck on the earth, right? So at one time he was a winged being, he was an angel, but now he's the devil. He's a pitchfork, meaning that he's working with the ground. He pokes you with the pitchfork. It's metaphorical, right? And then you have angels. These are beings with wings, meaning that they elevate. So a lot of times I tell people, look, if you're going to make a decision, if you're going to work, either you're going to go the way of the angels and move yourself to a higher level, or you're going to go the way of the devil. But you can't hold the devil's tail and the angel's wing at the same time and expect to
Right.
get anywhere. So the devil basically is what we say. You look at it backwards, it says lived, meaning that it's anti-life, means that it's stuck in the past. Live. Evil spelled backwards is to live. So anything that's anti-life is which is evil in your life.
Right.
You see what I
Right.
mean? That's the true
Absolutely.
concept of good and evil. Anything that stops you from living and you're doing something that is against yourself, you're anti-life. That is what's
Absolutely.
stopping you
Yeah.
to live.
Mhm.
You see?
And just to add to this question, do witches get power and gifts from the devil? To me, that goes back to, the patriarchy, and also just white supremacy. Just the idea of just thinking that the gifts that come from God would come from a devil. Why would my gifts or anybody's gifts and power come from a devil when God is all powerful? And people can believe that, but and then that goes back to thinking that the woman even have to submit to a man in order to tap into her power. She's already powerful, so she don't need to get gifts from the devil. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? We get a devil gifts. How about that? The
Right.
devil get his gifts from us.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
So the other one was, do you believe in devil worship? Is there such a thing? It's things people that worship this energy, but no, we don't believe in that. And you
I
can.
wanted to go back a little bit too. I'm going to piggyback off of something that you said about believing if witches get their power from the devil, because that was something strong in Europe when they killed millions of women, blaming them for having sex with a being with scales all over its penis and everything else,
Would
and
that be
saying that she
Pan
had,
or someone
you
another
know,
one?
basically, all she needed was a birthmark in the wrong place, and they'll say that she was marked by the devil. So
But
they
no,
killed a
but are
lot
you
of their
speaking
women.
about the god Pan that they was calling the devil was Pan, right?
Right. But also the way they went after these women who are
Mm-hmm.
herbalists, right?
Mm-hmm.
They knew
The
about the
witch hunt.
forces of nature, you see, and they called them pagans and heathens because, well, they did the work out in the woods, in the wooded areas, in the forest. So the paganoi or the pageant was basically things when they would have festivals out there in the forest in the wooded area. The paganoi was those who dwelled in the forest in the wooded areas. Those who
Mm-hmm.
had access to the medicine which was in the forest. So they basically said, well, hey, you're a pagan. But hey, what does that make John the Baptist, who dwelled in the woods and fasted?
Right.
You see what I mean?
And they
So
thought he was crazy, so
they sure did, you know? Um,
they literally he was up in that prison preaching for days.
indeed, indeed. But you see, the reason why they say that is to separate you from your power source, which is nature.
Yep.
You
Yep.
see what I mean?
Yep.
The woman, now in Yoruba tradition, it's believed that the grandmothers passed down the power of Aj to the
Mm.
woman from generation to generation. And basically, all it takes to activate that energy within a young girl is for the woman, the grandmother, to say, I believe in you. I believe that you will make it and you will be successful in anything you do. And that's when she activates the IJ power in her daughter and her granddaughter. So a lot of times the power is not coming from the devil, it's coming from mama, great grandma, and so forth.
Okay, from Big Black Mama.
Big black mama. I
So
hope you don't think she's the devil.
when I work with, okay, for real though, some of them act like it the way they taking their own moms out and stuff. But look, when I do my spiritual work with Big Black Mama, I play
Hmm.
"Tell Mama" by Etta James. Tell Mama
Yeah, I know that's right. Right,
all about it.
right. You know how.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's the creative imagination. I've been playing Nina Simone for the last 3 days.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's got the knowledge on hoodoo. I was just bringing up Nina Simone. I brought up no she was supposed to be bringing Zora. Wasn't she supposed to play Zora Neale Hurston? But did
Mm,
she ever? At some point in time, I'm
wow.
trying to think. Anyway, Zora. I tell people to like study Zora Neale Hurston if you want to learn about the hoodoo side of things too.
I'm
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a picture of Zora Neale Hurston. I'm gonna show you the whole Beyonce face. I posted it,
Okay.
but it passed everybody by.
All
It's
right.
it's
All
a
right.
trip how this genetics. One thing I wanted to trip on. I don't know how deep this could go with this, but because I'm interested in it again. the Michael Jackson Egyptian statue that looked just like Michael after the surgery. You know,
Uh-huh.
that's a hella metaphysical thing. Like it talks a lot about the genes that are shuffled and the type of lines of people that come back into fame, that they look like other people that they were calling doppelgangers and stuff like that. So certain phenotypes and or what he's the same energies because
Yeah, I
Michael,
got the thing. Yeah,
man,
yes.
Michael was back there. They said the statue that was made of him, he was famous and renowned. And it wasn't made of him, but the statue that has the close resemblance. It was also, I mean, enough where they left the legacy of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I mean,
mean,
so this dude, I mean, damn, is he? That's just deep to me. I
you know, you're
mean,
you're in the past, present, and future. There's the you
yeah,
millions of years in the
simultaneously.
past. There's the you now, and there's the you that's yet to be. That's
That
already now.
Kabbalion, you know,
You know, so the fact of the matter, they speak about Michael Jackson, or they show the statue. I've seen that statue too, by the way. It does look a lot like him.
many
You know.
times. And then the nose, because the nose
Mm-hmm.
is destroyed and he destroyed his nose. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like,
Whew.
did the egg or the chicken come first? You know, because that's just that it's that deep. I mean, I've seen the cave picture of Rocky Balboa or the man Sylvester Stallone
Mm-hmm.
from hundreds of years ago, his exact resemblance. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy. This just lets you know just how powerful and how we really galactical beings as far as time just keep going. You know,
You
we
know,
make our marks. How you know that's not their mark to let people know when they return back to this planet, you know?
you know how Buddhism teaches that we're in a place called the samsara, which means basically the wheel of life. You know, so the cycle of
Mm.
birth and death. But
Yeah, the will
also,
of life.
so we're on the wheel. They said that the Milky Way is a wheel. So
Hmm.
we're on this wheel,
Even
right?
astrology, the
Mm-hmm.
will. And then we talk about the will and the will, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the will of God.
Right?
WHELL and WILL, the will of God,
There you
you
go.
know,
You know,
and
so so the idea of escaping the wheel is to go from just the wheel, right, and breaking out a loop into a spiral. Hence,
mm,
the spirit.
mm,
You see
I
what I
say,
mean? The
I
word.
like that.
So the
I
word
like that.
spiral,
Yeah.
containing spirit. So breath is spirit. The
Mm-hmm.
word spirit comes from the Latin word spiritus, meaning breath.
Breath. Mm-hmm.
So when you breathe correctly and change how you breathe, it also affects how you process information. Because you have
Mm-hmm.
to slow down the breath when you're feeling anxious, right? Like you started out where we first started, right? With the
Yeah.
breath. So the sacred breath is also one of the ways in which we can learn how to slow down the anxiety, and also it helps our memory
Our
when you're
head.
able to
Yeah.
breathe. You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it tells you, Obatala may have made the physical body, but it was Olodumare who placed in me, which is the divine breath, in which brought those clay figures to life. Same thing
Right.
with the Helios Biblia, aka the Holy Bible, where it talks about it would took the, when Adam was
Noah?
created from the
Was it
dark, they
Noah?
threw it out to the earth. How was that?
Not Noah. It wasn't who was making the people in the Bible and he was drunk. Wasn't it Noah?
Oh, basically that's a retelling of the story of creation in the form of Noah, who had basically had his 8 children. I mean his family on the ark, right?
Yeah. But they
And
were saying
actually,
something about him being drunk and making the off children, kind of like Obatala, that story where
okay.
but not that he made off children, but that he was drinking and his shame was exposed.
Right, 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 correct. That's a retelling of the Memphite theology, and I'll explain. There was
Mm-hmm.
four males and four females on the ark, right? That was
Mm-hmm.
his family. So that connected to Amen, Amenet, Nu, Nunet, Ku, Kuket, Hu, Het. And they were on the divine boat of creation. Also, they represented the eight figures who were basically the children of Ptah and Sekhmet, or some would say that they coalesce into Ptah. However you interpret it, that's part of what they call the shucks, I'm trying to think of the name of that stone. They used it for a grinding stone. But anyway, it was a stone that on it they had the Memphite theology on it, and it talked about the metaphor of creation from these eight energies, which I believe these eight energies correspond to, or half of the energies of the 16 that make up the Odu. And these are the same eight energies that are connected to Yi Ching with the four males and four females that make up what they call the eight immortals, right? They're the energy patterns that they use in divination to represent not only what's going on in life, but a lot of these stories, again, which we see as historical, they also represent truths that are beyond just history, but also talking about science. Now, you can say, if you want to believe that it started out with eight people, right? Because that's a retelling of the story of creation. Now in this case, Noah was the progenitor. So he was the progenitor because he was the father of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, according to the mythos.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, when Ham, right, Ham supposed that saw Noah laying around naked, just like Obatala had got drunk underneath the tree, the palm tree. He was drunk off of palm oil. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Noah was drunk, but you see, here's the thing. People have used that to say that Ham was cursed, and Noah never cursed Ham. He couldn't have cursed
Right.
Ham because he already blessed Ham, Shem, and Japheth when he got off the ark. That's why he cursed Canaan instead.
Mm. Yeah,
Okay?
that's deep. That's deep. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, just to close on this one, this is the last question, and it's just basically what we already answered, but a little bit different. Is there a difference between Satanism, devil worship, and Luciferian, or are they all the same?
There is a difference.
Very much so. Yeah.
First, so Satan, right? Satan
Mm-hmm.
means adversary, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, it's kind of like it says, you spell it backwards, it's natus. Natus comes from Nahas, which represents the serpent, you know. But here's the thing: is an adversary is an adversarial nature. The serpent itself is not necessarily evil.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the garden, it talks about it was the serpent that tempted Eve. It was Nahas that tempted Eve, and the Eve was supposed to have gave the had tempted Adam. And then it talks about how they were supposed to have died the day they ate of the particular partook of the fruit. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And the
Mm-hmm.
Bible actually cleans it up because a lot of people say, well, they didn't die the same day. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, when
but
you
they
went there, go ahead. I'm
but
gonna
the
mute
Bible
out.
but the Bible actually does clean it up. It says that a 1,000 years is the day to God. So Adam maybe lived close to 1,000 years, and everybody else, Methuselah, Eve, they all lived like up into the hundreds and almost the thousands, but they fell short. They made sure that they didn't live past 1,000 years. That was the day they died, right? But there's also talking about the fall. And all this is talking about falling into the duality of both knowing good and evil. So, how do you know good and evil? Well, you have to understand that you got caught up in the duality. So, you came here wanting and seeking knowledge of both good and evil. That's the fall of man and woman, basically, because it was the knowledge of good and evil. So, in order for you to appreciate what is good, you have to understand evil.
Was
So one of the
evil.
things that we're coming here to this earth to understand is we're actually taking, let's just say you're getting a scholarship in evil. Okay? So you're learning about evil, you're learning about how to appreciate things because you're seeing things die, you're seeing where you're going to get sick, you're going to grow old at some point in time, and then you got to go through the process of what appears to be death.
Hmm. Hmm.
You
Yeah,
see?
we basically took the hard road. When I was
Hmm.
young, somebody I was friends with used to say, when you smarter, that means you listen to what someone else told you to do. And that's being smart. He said, but being wise, because most people are not gonna do it the smart way. The smart way is when your mama or dad be like, look, I did this don't work, don't do that. And it
Hmm.
would be smart to listen, but most people got
Right?
to go the wise way. They want
Right?
wisdom, so they have
Right?
to get knowledge. And now we have to experience that dark side, but I guess it was necessary anyway to understand duality, or we would
Hmm.
be in a passive state. But I know Satanism and Luciferianism is different. Some people just classify it as devil worship, um especially when they don't know. But I know that Satanism, like Chaz said, shout out to Chaz from Mystic Dream, some of it is the kind where you just live in your mama basement and you practice these, or auntie basements, and you still at home, like probably in your 30s or 40s, I don't know. But you like playing around with this so-called, uh you just doing everything opposite just to be like rebellish. I don't know, it's more like a kind of like heavy metal music. I was a little disappointed, or gothic, to find out it was just the look. I was expecting more guts and gore, and not just, most of the people that was in gothic stuff is just a style of music or a look, or it has to be something more to it than that for me. But it's, so it's just kind of like the Satanism, from what I've understand, they have the Anton LaVey Satanism,
Right.
and
Right.
then, so yeah, that's different than Luciferianism, though.
Here's the difference to my understanding. Satanists worship the lower self, and Luciferians work with the light.
Mm.
Okay? Luciferians don't work with the dark, they work with the light.
Ain't that something? They the Illuminati ones, illuminated
Indeed.
ones.
Indeed. Remember they say that the devil can transform himself into an angel of light,
Right.
right?
The bright morning
So
star, Lucifer.
right. So Lucifer is the bright morning star, like you mentioned. It also identified with the planet Venus. Okay. You know. So when you're dealing with the bright morning star, Jesus is also called the morning star in the book of
I was just gonna,
Revelation.
yeah, absolutely.
You
Ain't
see
that
what I mean?
something?
You see
Yeah.
how you're starting to see the duality?
Hmm.
So, so
This is
one can say,
interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We have a comment down here. Or someone have a comment. It's
uh,
really interesting. I agree with the sex part, though. I do agree with that. Lauren Hill kind of explained that when she made the song "Adam Lives in Theory."
uh,
That that what really happened was the so-called serpent was that they had sex. That's what I heard in some texts as well. He says the devil beguiled Eve, meaning seduced, and had sex with Eve, which comes to the story of Cain and Abel. Cain being the son of the devil and Abel being the son of Adam. Correct? And she put a
yeah.
question. I mean, he
A
put a
lot of
question.
times that's the favorite teaching is that I've heard the Hebrew Israelites mention about Cain actually being the devil's son, and and Abel basically being the legitimate legitimate son of Adam and Eve, or the divine one, and Cain basically being the devil, certain Satan's son. Here's the thing
That's
about
deep.
that,
She said and
you
that's
know.
what he said. Excuse me. That's where the royal bloodline was formed. And then he says, "Thank you."
I appreciate that. Here's the thing: the prophets also have a form of the royal bloodline too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why if you go up and down the lineage, otherwise, because some people will say that the royal bloodline comes from the devil. But wait a minute, hold up. What about the house of David? What about the 42 generations in the book of Matthew that talks about Jesus or Yeshua? Well, it goes down to Joseph. What's interesting, though, what's very interesting is that they talk about Joseph being Jesus' genetic father, where we know that Joseph was not supposed to be the genetic father of Jesus. So is it a bloodline? What else is going there? We see that 42 is also the mystic number utilized in the Maatian teachings, talking about the 42 judges. We also see it about the 42 Buddhas. So I believe that number 42 is also an astrological and astronomical one.
He said the 13th family, royal bloodline. See, now y'all got my mind going because now this answering some other questions I got. That's why I'm just sitting here looking because I have something else. I'm not gonna even break that out tonight. That'll just take this somewhere totally different. But when you're talking about the royal bloodlines and the kinships on the planet
Right.
and how all
Yeah,
of them was connected to the serpent.
right. And here's the thing, the serpent also represented divination.
The serpent represented divination.
Yes. See, they're
Hmm.
looking for it to been some reptilian alien being and so forth. Because basically the prevailing story is about the reptilians. But here's the thing. You also have a reptilian aspect of you, and that is in your reptilian card called the
In the
R
brain.
complex in the
Hmm.
brain. So you got genetic reptilian material literally in you, just like you have the material of the mammalian brain.
Hmm.
Whenever you let your subconscious dominate you, then you're allowing the reptile to take over. When you're dealing with warmth, love, and emotions, you're connected with the mammalian brain. The cerebral cortex goes over both the mammalian and the reptilian brain. And when you're focusing on things and doing things automatic and allow your subconscious to take over, that's when you're connected with the reptile. You
Mm.
see, but if you want to look for the 13 families and read the book of the Holy Grail and read about how the 13 families have taken over the earth, well, I can tell you why it's the number 13 because that connects to the synarchy. The synarchy is connected to the 13 lunar months of the calendar because the synarchy is always about mimicking which is in the universe and manifesting it on earth. The people that deals with the occult that's controlling and ruling stuff, whether you want to consider them to be of a reptilian nature and that they had sex with the serpent, that to me, we could talk about that on so many levels. I'm not here to argue with your metaphors or whether or not you see that as historical. But what I am here to tell you is to look at it in a way of how do you transcend these things. Okay, because you can also say that the 12 tribes of Israel is linked to the 12 nerves in the brain, and you're going to find that in the Kabbalah. So when you study Kabbalah, it breaks all that down to a metaphor. Now, they talk about 13 families, but believe me, if they have 13 families, the reason why they established those 13 families was because these people all got together and studied the occult and mimicked that and created that.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, they like playing it out.
Yep. Your
Almost
Bible
as
and
above, so below. They're taking certain spiritual practices and they're acting it out. You
yes,
know,
yes.
yeah, wow.
So yes, you could say that the original fall from grace is connected with the sex act because they discovered that they were naked after they had sex, right? And then they
Mm.
also check this
Maybe
out.
that's because they lost their divinity, that part of their clothing. Because if they, ooh, that's so deep. You know, but y'all check out that Adam Lives in Theory. I know most people have heard it. They
Mhm.
slept on Lauryn Hill Unplugged album, but that was deep. That Adam
Jesus,
Lives in Theory was real deep. She gives a little bit about that.
right?
Ugh,
And Jesus also
yeah.
says, "Be wise as serpents and gentle as doves." Why? Because the serpent represents the aspect of the clever part of you. The
See, that
dove
go back to the
represents all the spirit.
Satanism. She
You
said
see?
that he said the devil likes to mirror things and turn them upside down. That's what I was talking about the religion Satanism. Some of it is just the mimic of the black mass of the Christian mass.
That goes back to seeing live being spelled backwards and making devil because it's anti-life. It's life in
Hmm.
reverse. So they're right.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So yeah, you're looking at that which is anti-life because what they do is they reverse everything and turn it upside down and flip it inside out and they give it back to you. Even the Bible and everything else, the way they gave that to you is that they gave it to you one way, but they gave the believers one way of interpreting it. But
Hmm.
those who also understand that the book of resurrection is also talking about how to create a king, but it's telling the story form in the form of Yeshua, aka Jesus. This
Mm.
how kings are made. Kings in antiquity always had to go through the process of death and resurrection when they were put in a death-like state for 3 days and revived on the third day. You'll find this in a lot of your traditions, including traditions in India, in ancient Mexico, and in West Africa. So the acceptance of Christ was also one of the reasons why they accepted Christ. People may not want to get into this, but also
Mm.
it's talking about the idea of cannibalism.
Mm.
Cannibalism and
Oh
murdering
boy.
people, yeah,
Go
was
ahead.
prevalent among a lot of indigenous cultures too. See, a lot of us don't want to talk about that, while a lot of us felt that you had to devour the king that came before you in order to take on those attributes and become the next king. You'll find this all in ancient traditions and everything else. So, one of the reasons why Christianity was allowed to spread is because people was going kind of crazy and buck wild with all the cannibalism and human sacrifice. Well, there's no need to do any human sacrifice if the sacrifice has already been done.
So Jesus kind of saved humans in that way. He the savior. He saved their lives because they used this one person. Is that that's
Yep,
deep.
yep. Because
He's
I
the
mean, if,
scapegoat.
yeah,
The
he was the
devil.
scapegoat.
Jesus is the savior and the scapegoat.
Yeah, I
Sad how
mean,
they place their sins on Jesus, huh? Or
it's
on a
that.
scapegoat. He
Yeah,
bears everybody's sin.
yeah. But I mean, hell, the scapegoat. Look, the scapegoat is Venus. The scapegoat is the morning star. Jesus is the scapegoat as well because hey, the devil, or representing the goat. There's also a ritual when they'll basically tie the sins around the goat, and send the goat on its way. They said that in
Hmm.
the end, the goats will go to the left and the lambs will go to the right.
Yeah, that's sad. They would use the goat to bear. That's what I talked about in my duality series on we always need a scapegoat.
Yeah,
Society always uses a scapegoat. Black people are the scapegoat.
right.
For a lot of things, just like sometimes even our men will make the black woman the scapegoat. Sometimes we make the black man the scapegoat. Just depends on the line and the way the situation is ran. But we got to be mindful of that because nobody want to deal with their own shit. Nobody want to be accountable. So we need that little group. We need 1,000 people to be mad at two people. I don't know. But
Right,
look, it
right,
says, what's
right.
your thoughts on the difference between Jesus and Yeshua? Um, he says, so are the Italians. Oh, what about the Italians? Scapegoat too? They are scapegoats. That's an Italian in the bottom. Bellini. I
Uh,
hear you. Yeah,
well, I
that's
mean, in Haitian, boy, I'm talking about the negative side of Haitian tradition. They call the human sacrifice a goat without horns,
mm,
right?
okay.
So the thing about it is that a goat, right, or a ram or a lamb, both of those are animals that are slaughtered for sacrifice.
Mm,
You see what I
wow.
mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
the question is, you want to be a goat or a ram? Which sacrificial animal do you want to be?
Right.
Because
Right.
you see what I mean? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow, right?
That part.
You know,
Yeah.
so you want to deal with the idea of being a lamb or being sheep or being a goat, which doesn't care. Goats are so stupid that they can watch another goat get slaughtered right next to them and won't do nothing. They won't even run.
Wow.
So it's talking
Wow.
about a certain type of mentality. Then you notice how they have Pan representing a goat,
How about the
right?
dunce hat?
Right. You know, all that's connected. So you got
Well, they
Pan,
say darkness, ignorance is darkness. Darkness is ignorance until you bring light to it. So if you're
indeed,
talking about the dumb goat, maybe that's he need to be sacrificed to be enlightened. And
right? And well, Pan also, if you look at Pan, you know, um, I'm thinking of the artist who created
I was only
the
joking.
Baphomet. There's the Baphomet symbol, you
Hmm.
know, and for some reason I can't think of the his name was Levy something, not Antoine Levy, but
You talking about
Levius
Levi Eliphas?
yeah,
Yeah,
Levius
he's
Levy,
from the
right?
Golden Dawn.
Right. He's the one who basically came up with the idea of Baphomet with the head of the goat, the
Uh
breast
huh.
of a woman,
Uh
and
huh.
it's like hermaphrodite and showing
Thank you.
the kundalini going up the spine. Why? Because the magic was how you would energetically create a goat instead of having to use a real one for sacrifice.
They would do it through the now. Say that again. The Kundalini. They would
Yeah,
the rising of the Kundalini power. They would use. So is that sex?
indeed, it's sex energy.
Yeah.
You see what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, the
So,
orgies.
you
Okay.
know,
Also, they said thank you. And then this question, I don't really know how to answer it only because, I don't subscribe to it. But it says, what are your thoughts on the difference between Jesus and Yeshua? So I don't, for me, Yeshua is before the J, I guess. I don't know. I don't. To me, Jesus is Jesus is Jesus. So I don't know what. I'm gonna let you answer that if you want to.
you heard the word named Isus and Isius? You ever heard of the Isa and the Essenes? Okay. The
Mm-hmm.
Essenes were the therapists, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're the Theraputae of ancient Kemet. The head of the Theraputae were basically the Essenes or Isa. They were followers of Isa, which makes them the Essenes. Okay?
Well, I mean, I
Now,
know Yeshua is supposed to be connected more to the Hebrews, right? And Jesus is the European version of Jesus.
pretty much, because I mean,
Yeah.
the J is the J, as far as being used in those languages like Greek and Hebrew and Arabic, has had the J they have Al Jabbar and so forth. But as far as the languages that were used in the Bible, they weren't using that language with the J over over 300 years ago. In fact, if you look at an older King James Bible, you'll discover that they had an I instead of a J, and his name was Isus, not
Jesus.
Jesus.
Okay.
Right. You see what I mean?
And,
So
mhm.
Yeshua basically means the salvation of Yahweh or Yahweh saves.
Okay.
And Jesus is supposed to mean salvation. But the Greeks, when they break down the name Jesus and use the numerical value, they basically break it down to 888, which makes 24. But if you
Mm.
take the J, if you notice, both Jesus and Yeshua both contain the word Eshu. So as far as I'm concerned, they both represent the opener of the way,
Come
just with a
on,
different
come through.
frequency.
That's how. Come on, the
You
truth, the
know?
way, and the
Now,
light, the
right?
opening.
So
Come through.
so 3 times 8, which Jesus break down to in the Greek Kabbalah, makes up 24. There's 24 Greek letters, each representing one of the 24 elders that they speak of in the book of Revelation. But you see,
Hmm.
they did not use Hebrew Kabbalah in the New Testament. They used Greek Kabbalah because the first Hebrews that were in Egypt and Alexandria did not speak or write in Hebrew. They did not write
Hmm.
in Hebrew, they wrote in Greek. So therefore, they used the Greek Kabbalah. So if you want to get the accurate history on that, look and see that the Greek alphabet as well as the Hebrew alphabet all come from Proto-Sinaitic, which is found by Mount Sinai, which is actually a form of the Egyptian hieroglyphics. You can look
Good
all this
point.
stuff up.
He said also. It also is the infinity symbol, the eight.
Uh-huh. That's
Hmm.
right.
Over the
That's
head.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all deep. That continuum, you
I
know.
love I love these questions. Keep them coming.
Mm-hmm. Breaking the eights, he said. Breaking the
Indeed.
eights.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and even like the 24, go back to 6, go back to 3. And then they talk about the Trinity. All of that is connected. SU numbers 3 too. So all of
Mm-hmm.
those things is connected still.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. See, the oldest aspects of Christianity, one of their oldest fathers was named Origen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So check this out. Origen was a universalist, meaning that he believed that all people were eventually going to make it to heaven at some point in time, and that God's consciousness pervaded all things. So the church did not accept him in canon. He's recognized as the church father, but they do not have a Saint Origin. Why? Because later on, around the Council of Chalcedon, they begin to say, now we got to get rid of Origen's teachings because we recognize him as one of the church fathers, but he believed in universalism. Therefore, he believed in reincarnation.
Mm.
Okay? I'm going to tell you something else about origin. Look up the word origin and look at its etymology of origin as being one of the church fathers. And guess what origin means?
Origin. Okay, but it got Ori in that too.
It sure does. And I'm going to get deeper. Origin means the son of Haru, the son of
Ooh,
Horus.
interesting.
So, yes, people want to act like they don't make a connection back to ancient Kemet and the Hebrew stories when all those stories came from the same source. I mean, ancient Kemet and Antioch and that place in Syria, they were connected. So they go back and forth on how they were going to divine the Bible. The Torah came out of Egypt. Sinai was in Egypt. All of that stuff came out of Egypt. All that stuff came out of Kemet. Mount Sinai was in Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula. On the other
Wow.
side of it, it's still geometrically connected to Egypt. Now they just blew up the Suez Canal maybe about a century ago when the British separated the Suez Canal and dug it out, separating Africa from Asia. Before
That
then, you can
makes
walk between Africa and Asia.
right. And then we have another interesting comment here. That's why you see a lot. This is still Danny Bellini. Bring it, bring it. That's why you
I
see a
love
lot
it.
of mirrors breaking in the music videos. The mirror represent this world and the spirit world. They're breaking
Uh
the
huh.
eights.
I see. You know, it's not good to have a broken mirror around, definitely. You know, if you break
Mm-mm.
mirror, because it also represents distortions in its reality. Because whenever a mirror breaks, all the pieces of the mirror are distorted. The broken mirror, we as human beings in a collective consciousness represent the broken mirror of consciousness.
Mm.
Therefore, we're each and every one of us are distortions of God. And here's the thing, the distortions are part of how we are able to show and prove that we can come back to wholeness after experiencing what it means to go through distortion.
Mm. Wow. He said exactly. He said, I believe it's evil. Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
mirror can. The mirror's a portal. You can do a lot with mirrors, if you know how to work with mirrors, but mirrors are something.
Mm-hmm.
It
Oh,
captures you, and the cameras would be then too, because cameras
mm-hmm.
are something else. When you talk about the camera, that's why I don't watch scary movies at all. But they had that one called Insidious. That's when I stopped. I don't watch anything like that. But Insidious was crazy, and that's
Mm-hmm.
they was talking about that mirror world, and oh God, I was very unsettled. I was so unsettled I had to pause the movie and Google Insidious to see
Mm-hmm.
what it really means. I said, this is crazy.
Right, right.
So
Dude,
it's
I'll
kind of
tell you.
crazy. You know what? I wasn't scared of the movie, but I could feel as the spiritual person that I am. I felt like it was influencing my house. Like I didn't like the energy of Insidious, so I just felt like that wasn't something I wanted to. I felt unsettled by that.
Mhm.
Just so I guess they did their job, right?
Robbie Shoe, movies, entertainment, theater. If you go back to ancient times, theater was always begun with a ritual for a reason.
Absolutely. He said, "You're brilliant, bro," and is,
I said, thank you.
and
Thank you. I
is.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Ashe.
it. I say,
Yeah.
I say. We give thanks and praise to Olodumare, give thanks and praise to Ori, give thanks and praise to Egun.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Yeah, that's heavy though, brother. I appreciate all of that. Man, and there's so much we could go into. Say, okay, one more question. Flat Earth, globe, or just one giant illusion? Oh yeah, I want to answer that one too.
One giant illusion.
One giant illusion.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because here's the thing, you know. The people, each and every one of us, are going to see things from our perspective, right?
Hmm.
Now, they're going to have you fighting and arguing about the way the earth is shaped and everything else. There are people who fly around the planet and say, look, man, we done seen the globe. Then there's people going to say, hey, man, we done seen NASA's manipulating all the planets. I mean, all the, they're manipulating everything so that you will see the world is flat. I mean, the world is round. My question is that in the grand scheme of things, right? All the texts keep on telling you what to do to basically manifest your reality. What you need to do is go into meditation and see for yourself. Because here's the thing, in fractals, everything around you is a copy of something else, and you are a manifestation of the holographic universe yourself. You see
So
what
it's
I
based
mean?
on perception.
Yes. Within each and every one of us is also a smaller version of us in the form of cells. You make up the whole. You see what I mean? As far
Hmm.
as we're concerned, we're thinking about whether or not the earth is flat or round. It could just simply be a cell within somebody else's body.
But I like on the what's that, the magic school bus. But the way I just see it on the physical level, to me, I could see it as a dome. Like I said on my page, I can't tell you if it's sitting on something flat or not, but I know we are in a dome. And it could be sitting on anything. It could be just floating, it could be on something flat, or it could be one giant illusion like the nothing on the never ending story. But I could see the dome. If you look up, you can see the way it's shaped. It looked like a half of a spear,
Mhm.
but I don't know what's going on underneath.
According to the
You know
Yoruba,
what I'm saying?
right? According to the Yoruba, we live inside of a calabash.
A calabash. That's well, that's
Yeah,
still a spear.
you know. So, but they're saying we live on the inside. Now, what's interesting is that Hitler, the Nazis, they believe that we lived inside of the earth as well,
The inner
right?
earth, right? The inner
Right,
earth
right.
beings.
You know, and that but the way they looked at it is that what we saw as space is 100% solid rock. So when we see the light, we're looking at the holes in the rock in the form of stars.
Man, I
Now,
guess it is. It's really about perception. If you want to go that deep with it, like people, we could go so deep with it.
yeah,
But I
'cause I'm,
mean, what
you
if what
know,
if there was no space and all of these are just attributes and energies within us, like some people say? So, we see something outside, but I already said about that, as above, so below. So if it was
yeah,
no space, we created it. We created
indeed.
it. It's
As
whatever
above, so
we
below.
create.
Yeah, indeed. As within, so without. You
There's
see what I
within,
mean?
so without.
You know.
Absolutely.
Now
Yeah.
there are people who say that we are surrounded by an ice dome and that there's more land out there. Well, I'm gonna put it to you like this: there's a lot of things that they're not telling you because they don't want you to have the widest perception of things. You
Mm.
see what I mean? This is why I say develop your creativity because these are questions that are going to be debatable no matter how well you answer them. You're always going to run into people that are going to run across the base. They're going to say, well, wait a minute, hold up. The earth can't be flat because basically the energy is coming from the earth's core because whenever you have something in the void, it's going to be the earth's core. That's going to mean it's going to be the gravitational pull that's going to make it round. But then
Right.
now you're saying that people are saying that there's no such thing as gravity. Well, you're gonna have to get out and experiment instead of just telling me that water knows finds its own level because that's anybody could say that. What does that mean? You're made of water. We're surrounded
Right.
by water.
Right.
Water, you're underwater. You're underwater right now.
Come on, cause isn't it just condensed water, the space and air we breathe?
Indeed, it's all around you. You would not even be able to have, let's see, sound travels 1,100 miles per second through time, through space, because it has something, it has a medium. It's not just a vacuum. There's air
Right.
bubbles and everything else that it's traveling through. There's water, mist, and everything else in which sound is traveling through. That's why we can hear each other.
I mean, the new theory is there is no space, there's only ocean. And I
Uh,
thought that was interesting. Very interesting, because ocean and space have so many similarities. Even the fact that we call ships ships and spaceships spaceships. Just that alone, and not just that, but it's several things. Then they talk about the octopus and how that wasn't connected to nothing really on the planet. Like it was something that was otherworldly. You
ah,
know, the squid.
according to
So it's a
Ifa,
lot of
according to
I
Ifa, Olokun is the owner of the ocean. But for those who are mystically inclined, you also understand that the ocean is not just under us, but you
It's
have the
above us
cosmos.
and under us.
Yes, so they consider space as an ocean of sorts too.
Well, I mean, they say they separate the firmament from the firmament. Is that the right way I'm saying it? Is firmament,
The
firmament,
firmament, yeah.
the firmament?
So
So, yeah. How
So,
about that? I like calamari. Don't mess that up for me. Hey, I had some calamari the other day, so whatever.
uh,
It's all good.
yeah, you know. So let's
Well,
say
what
that
about
there's like,
shrimp? They said shrimp come from the roach family. I was like, oh, don't tell me that. You know, so,
well, I mean, shrimp are older than roaches, but roaches are basically be the creatures that evolved on land.
mm,
That from the shrimp like creatures that begin to walk on the land.
yeah.
You
And
see what I
that's
mean?
deep, Kefra. I appreciate you, brother. Man, if you guys really y'all enjoyed what y'all saw tonight and want to tap into brother Kefra, go ahead because Danny Bellini, he might have subscribed to me, but I'm sure he want to tap in with you too. So go ahead and give him your channel and
Okay. Now I have a channel on YouTube. It's called Kpata 360. That's how you find a link, and also Ancient Wisdom Keeper. So
Kpata
there's another
360.
Kpata 360, aka Ancient Wisdom Keeper, Wizdom Wisdom Keeper. Right now, there's another channel with me when I'm not really talking about anything that's is metaphorical. I'm more or less talking about a few things revolutionary, and that's another channel. That's
Yeah. Well, also, anybody that want to donate to my platform or his is not a requirement, but you can reach. Definitely not for me, but for Brother Kefri, I would, much appreciated. He gives us a lot of time, energy, and wisdom, knowledge. His cash app would be $ Kefra Patah. So it's at the bottom in the ticker, but I forgot to put the $, but it's a $ before Kefra Patah. Okay, and thank you. She said, cool, thank you both again. Anything else you want to say? Because you know where it's going now, it will go and go. Because that's deep what you're saying right now. I can say a lot about the ocean and I don't know, looked like Brother Kefra might have faded out or could have dropped off. So well, yeah, he looked like he dropped off. He was having some issues, connection issues, you guys. So we've been on long enough, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Um, we'll be back on again. Well, I'll be back on Metaphysical Monday with another guest. And I just want to I'm not going to announce the guest just yet, but because I need to make sure. Well, actually, no, it's the third, the next time we do it. So I'm going to probably be by myself that day. And I'm going to be building on some deep stuff too. And I'll let you guys know on what we're going to tap on. And then, the next week I'm gonna have T Ford, brother T Ford, powerful brother. You guys gotta tap in and watch that one. And then yeah, I think I got only one more space open in March, you guys. But thank you everybody that watched tonight. Tapped into Metaphysical Monday. If anybody wants to appear on Metaphysical Monday, you got something you want to share with the community, y'all know how to reach me on Facebook at Denim Designs. Inbox me, only serious inquiries. Anything about culture, spirituality, esoteric, or community. Hey, this is the spot. We allow you to speak freely and to bring that knowledge, wisdom, and elevation. So thank you again, everybody that's watched. Share the live. Hit, give us some likes so more people can tap in and build with us. Also, if there's anybody that's interested in doing a panel on New Soul Jet Community or on this channel, Calligraphy TV, once a month, on certain subjects, and we can all come together, in the panel. And if y'all interested in something like that, let me know. And that's all. So I'm gonna go ahead and end on this note. I love you guys. Peace, love, light, fire, thunder, elevation, and let's get it. All right, let's keep getting it because we got this is the information age, you guys. This is all this is what we here to do. So and just to also to let's discuss things. We don't have to get so caught up in the way we think and get mad about it. It's not even about that. It's about taking all this information and each one teach one. All right. So peace, love, and light. Ashe. It's all good. My power running out too, Kev. It's all good. You did. It was awesome. It was awesome, and I'm looking forward to having you again. And also, if you ever want to pop in on a panel, too, and do a panel bill, And once again, you guys, y'all can tap in with Kefra, and also to donate to this brother, Babalawo. He's come on several times, Babalawo Kefra, and he's given us a lot. You know, um, and yeah, he worthy to be praised. I say $ Kefra Patah. And I'm gonna end on that. You guys have a good night. Peace, love, and light. Yeah, for sure. I would too. We'll have like certain subjects. We can even do some of the some of the black box questions, and just different things like that. So we'll talk about it more, you guys. Like I said, and anybody else. This one says, do you believe in reincarnation? Yes. I'm gonna just leave it there. Yes. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. Peace. Let me elevate your mind to the G state. I can hold your attention like booty shake. I can make you rise up like fire snake. Talking kundalini fire, let's keep it straight. Hit me first thing in the morning, that's wake and bake. I can make you feel great, frosted flakes. But when it's time to get up, don't hesitate. Time to go and get the money and you're running late. I know this honeycomb make it hard to concentrate. Close your eyes, breathe with me, king, meditate. And let our soul GPS start to navigate. All the bullshit every day we gotta regulate. Every move we make together gotta calculate. We build a house from the dirt to the picket gate. If you got it from me, should've didn't dictate. I'ma listen, be a queen, be a helpmate. Can't nobody separate us, stuck duct tape. I love it so heavy, baby, we be pushing weight. The distance that I would go, man, interstate. Hold me tight and surrender to your interstate. Let a rise take our body to a higher place. I'm a goddess reflecting, you look up in my face. Every time we embrace, I want another taste. Take your time when we fucking, this is not a race. Go slow and deep in and take it to a faster pace. Got my body tied up, is a shoelace. Got to be rocking the drum, but it's a beat bass. Breaking